Darwinism. Yes. That's the thing. Like, a lot of individuals just do not understand and grasp the concept that, like, for example, this is just me. I can't speak for anybody else. That I feel that when someone's holding on to someone that has a thing that could probably let them go without the equipment of a hospital and all the medicine and everything like that, like, let's say you're spending gobs of money on just keeping a person alive, but you're just delaying the inevitable. I feel like that person's like, because some of them, oh, but I love him, I don't want to let him go. I was like, that's like, it's the way I could say it, like, selfish.
Yeah.
I just find it very selfish that here you are letting this person, especially when it's like a situation where you don't know that they're suffering, because they're like, well, they're a vegetable, so they're not going to tell you.
Right.
But you still have them on equipment and shit. Like, that's why Pop had, like, the little paper. I guess I had to put it on the fridge and shit. Do not resuscitate and all that. He's like, I don't want to be hooked up to no damn machines. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go.
Right.
And I'm like, I completely understood. And I wasn't going to be there to try to say otherwise. I mean, that's his wishes anyways. But even if it was just me, I'd probably go the same direction either. But I'd probably be right by his bed and ask him. If he's still capable, I'll ask him. If he's not, then I know it's fucking time. That's it. What am I going to do? Just have him there taking up a room with all this equipment, all this money. Like, where is that money coming from, too? A lot of people don't understand, like, who's spending all that money just to keep a person alive for God knows how long that they could keep them alive? It's like, you're going to waste all that time and money for what? Like, are they suffering or not? Most of them probably are, and we don't even know it. Let them go. Let them go. It's unfortunate, yes. Lose a loved one, I know. But it's like that Band-Aid. Just pull it off, and that's it. But for everything else, it's like, luckily, like with my brother, I mean, his allergies are, I guess they're right now manageable, because he's got some kind of just one pill he takes, and he's fine. Like, it's not death. He can be deathly allergic if he does consume like almonds, but everything else, like, dirt and shit. Which is funny as hell every time he tells me that. And I'm like, bro. And I'm like the complete opposite. Like, Pop, the only thing I was aware for him was shellfish. Which I was telling him, I don't know if you remember. So he had the hepatitis C. They had a new drug that just came out on the market. It was already FDA approved, et cetera, et cetera. I said, do you want to try it out so we can try to cure it? He's like, let's give it a shot.
Right. And
it's literally a shot. It's like almost like how an EpiPen is. And in the very beginning, he was like sick in a way where, like, the allergic reactions I was noticing, I'm like, something's up. Like, I don't know. So I started asking questions, and then they found out, oh yeah, that's right. So it does have an ingredient in there from shellfish. I'm like, see, that's why. But luckily, it wasn't at a level that would kill him. It would just seem like the slight symptoms.
Right.
But with prolonged use, then the body got accustomed to it, to the point where there was one day we were at, I want to say it was like a Red Lobster, and he had a bowl of shrimp for the very first time in his life. And he's sitting there like, oh, this is what I've been missing out on? And I'm like, I know, right? Luckily, I'm not trying to shove this in your face, but luckily I'm not. Like, so far, I'm aware too, my mom's not allergic to anything. So it was just shellfish for him. And I didn't get anything. So far, I haven't experienced anything. Lord knows if there is something, and I just haven't been, either touched it or ate it or, exposed to it in any way, shape or form, whatever that could be. So far, it's like not the knock on wood kind of thing. It's like, I've been fine. So I'm very happy that fuck yeah, more shrooms for me. Which is mean to say it that way, but to think about, so David, your David,
My David.
jeez, I mean, it's like one of those. Would it be along the lines almost like how that Bubble Boy shit was with the fucking like
Almost,
that's how
yeah.
bad?
Almost, yeah. And that was the big discussion that we had because this poor kid, the first time he goes out ever
Yay!
into like the world for spring for the first time, he ends up in the hospital because his tree pollen allergy is just that bad. And that's how they end up finding out. And he has all of this other series of allergies. Like I was telling you earlier, it was the dogs and cats and fish and nuts. It's just this plethora of things.
That's
And
like, did they do the? Like I noticed in one, I think is when I took my ex to like an allergy place. It was like a whole bunch of little bumps, and
yeah,
each bump was a different thing. And then they'll find out which ones you're allergic to
yeah.
or whatever. Did they try that with him, or they were
Yes.
like, no,
Well,
he could die if we would try that?
when he was hospitalized, they did
Okay.
they did all of that, but that's because he was being very, very highly monitored
Yeah.
and all of this stuff. But he was there for, I believe, months actually, and the argument we were having is that according to his father, he would have been fine even in medieval Europe if yeah, exactly, if he was, for example, just like a librarian in a basement. And I'm like, okay, but see, here's the
No.
thing. You would have to be the librarian in a basement, keeping him in there the entire time, never exposed to anything, because the first time you guys found out, he literally just stepped outside.
Yeah, but
Like
the way buildings and stuff like that, there would be something
the
in that place
dust,
in
the
general.
mold, the everything.
Yeah.
It would be bad, but
It would be something natural.
Yeah.
But it's bad.
exactly. No, but the thing is that everything that can possibly send us into shock is natural. Like there are no real synthetic elements that can send us into shock.
That's why I was never that. Like, yeah, I'll be sad, right? But I was never would be pissed at the idea of like. It's unfortunate we lost people, but if it was organically, we're talking about something that if Earth itself just had it, and we were aware of it, and then that was it. Like, oh, hey, some people died from this thing. That's life. What the fuck? You know, it's like there's shit that dies left and right from shit that you'd be like, ew.
Life sucks.
That
Then
looks
you
like
die.
it came
Yeah.
out of an alien movie, but it's not. It's actually legit, you know? Like fungi alone, I was looking at a thing about like an ant that had like a fungi, and the fungi was controlling the ant, and eventually it consumed the entire ant. And it's like, just looking at it looked alien. Like, you think this is from a fucking movie, so this is made up. It's like, no, that's natural shit. And
Welcome to the
even
Last
one
of
guy
Us.
kind of, now, don't get me wrong, the movie side of it was like when the guy was saying that eventually maybe fungi could fuck us up like that, where it would get into us and affect us. And then, unbeknownst to me, it was leading into that's how you got the damn video game The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so it's fungi in that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then I'm like, shit.
Not really. No, not cool.
No, I mean cool as in, oh, what a, but then
Kill
I'm
the
like,
mushrooms.
shit, because
Kill
it can
all
happen.
the mushrooms. They can die.
Kill the mushrooms. No, kill the mushrooms. Actually, there is legit mushrooms that I didn't know had like connectivity throughout all plant life.
Yes, they do.
To also help too. Like there was one that was like they were saying if it wasn't for how this fungi was acting right here, these plants wouldn't get enough nutrients because of the way this tree was doing this. And I'm like, huh? Really? It is all connected. I knew it. It's fucking cool shit, but it's like it's also scary with the idea of like, could fungi get to the place to fuck us up? But then I'm like, well, we've been on this planet for a long time, and those mushrooms have been around for a long time. I think it would have done it already. That's just me. But
See, going back to Darwinism, adapt to survive. Humans are a plague very much wherever they step. They
yes,
love to mold the world around them and force it into the perspective that they want to see, like man-made lakes and I don't know, segregated forests and
well, especially like some of those, like I understand what they're trying to do, but it's like, hey, look at this lovelish area. Now we want to rip it down, build buildings, but to be nice, we're gonna put like plants on the building. And
yeah,
I'm
you can
like,
put the plants on the building all you want. These plants are not don't have any root connections. They don't have any way of
and what happened to the
spreading
critters? Like all the
out. At the
critters,
end of the day,
animals.
you have to keep trimming them. The level of control that you have over them. We love to control our environment and keep it limited. Mother Nature takes care of herself. She
Which it
does
does. There are
not
times where
like.
you think there could be an overgrowth, but it's really not in the grand scheme of whatever you're looking at. Because that's the thing. It's like you would think there's an overgrowth. Like some people will say, oh, this is an overgrowth. But it's no, it's just growing on your wall that wasn't naturally there.
Right.
So now it's like, it's on your wall.
Right.
Which some of them look nice. I would leave it alone. But they're like, oh, no, we got to clear the wall.
It's
I'm
structurally
like,
unsafe.
Screw you with the wall anyway. No.
It's structurally unsafe.
That's true. But it depends on the wall. Like the ones I was looking at was like I want to say no more than 5 foot, and it was like the bricky looking nice ones. But it's like it looked nice with the vegetation though.
The plant's roots will
So would it go
literally
in it?
dig into any part that has either pores or
Oh, I'll get
that
right
have
in there.
and it'll get
Yeah.
inside and it will break it apart, forcing it to decompose faster. I mean, it's like a forest fire or a hurricane. People look at it, oh, it's massive destruction. No, it's renewal.
That's actually a good representation of like it looks beautiful, but it can destroy.
Yes.
The same as a plant can look beautiful, but it can kill you.
Yes.
Which that's one of the things I was talking about with vegetation. I was like, oh, these people would love their veggies. They have no clue what can. I was telling somebody, all right, let's say if you were in a forest, you're standing right here. And about like 100 yards out, there's a bear right over there. And he's just there. Let's say he's not moving. Okay. But then he decides he would want to come to you. And you go that way. There's going to be more plants that way that are going to kill you until that bear gets to you. Because there are vegetations.
There are chances that bear won't kill you at all. Bears
There's
actually,
that too.
unless they feel like threatened in any way,
Especially
they usually
some of
don't.
the ones I've seen. Like, it's, well, when it comes to videos, but and it's one of those things. There's so many pieces of vegetation. It's like, oh, I don't want to eat meat. I don't want to eat meat. I was like, okay, so tell me which ones you can eat and which ones you can't. And they wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Well,
Unless they're like one of those well-educated individuals that are like, that's what they do. Let's exclude them and just have that basic bitch that's sitting at the house eating a little salad there. It's like, yeah, those greens are specifically grown and picked for you. When that goes bye-bye...
it's the Madagascar
you know.
situation, the movie where Alex is like, you can't find this in the wild. He's looking at a steak. It's like, yeah, you can, but...
Oh, lovely steak. See, I'm not one of those people. I'm not against them, but some of them are just assholes. Let's say it that way. Those are the ones I don't care for. And that goes with anything. Like, I don't care what you like and what you don't like. Just don't be an asshole about it.
Right.
That's all
Or
it
did
is.
you ever watch the season of Archer where they're in South America?
I have not seen one thing from Archer.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
aware of it. I know what the cartoon looks like. But I haven't gotten to see jack about it.
Okay, so one of the episodes where they're in South America and this guy has a Neverland-esque area where he has a whole personal zoo. He's a Colombian drug lord, I believe. And
Is he modeling
At
things
one
after
point-
Michael Jackson too? No.
at one point, Archer is asking him because he wants to feed a tiger. He's like, do you happen to have any meat? And all you hear is like an elephant in the background. He's like, literally tons. are just like, no, like eating meat. And he's like, yeah, literally tons. He's like, no. He's like, look, you Americans, you feel like meat comes prepackaged in a little sealed envelope in the supermarket and you just pick it out. He's like, yeah, you just described meat. And it's like,
That's
I
the
get it.
average
That's what you
person's
meant.
meat.
Yeah.
No. Not that, oh, look, it's walking on 4 legs. I must take
Now
it down.
I eat it.
No. Which
No,
the last
it's not
time I
even
had
a question
venison,
of
it was
taking
pretty
it
good.
down. Let's be honest. It's not a question of taking it down. It's a question of, will it taste delicious? And if I see more than one, I can spare one.
And that's the thing, like the venison that I had, even though they seasoned the fuck out of it, I could tell how it still had like that gamey taste in it, but it still isn't a thing that would deter me to eat it though. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah.
Well, there's certain meats that need to be treated particularly, and more specifically, they need to be killed in a specific way, because, like, my mom's a Jehovah's
Yeah, I think it was like
Witness.
certain ones with the hormones, like
Yes.
not killed the right way, or go in the bloodstream, or go
Like
into
sheep
the meat.
are one of them.
Like
Rabbits. You need to be careful about how you kill them.
Right.
My mom's a Jehovah's Witness, and one of the things that one of the few restrictions that they have on food is that you can't choke the animal. Because no, it's like when you grab a chicken by the head and you flip it over your head, you throw it on the floor, it walks around for a little bit, then it tumbles over. At that point, you chop the head off. However,
Grandma just chopped the head off.
yeah, you
That's how my grandma-
tuck the head under the wing so it falls asleep. You pull it out, you chop it, boom, you're done. That is actually more in tune with what they would be allowed to eat, because the blood never actually stops flowing through the body until it's completely out. However, when you choke an animal, it dies before you're able to cut a major vein. You end up with blood pooling inside on the meat before you're actually able to clean it out and pull it, whatnot, which is actually also not kosher.
Right.
So you have to be really, really careful.
That's another one.
Yes, there's quite a lot of restrictions, especially when it comes to religion.
kosher.
They restrict a lot of the way that you prepare your meats.
Which one of the things I only knew was like the salt itself had to be kosher, and
Yes.
sometimes that's the only thing I was aware of.
Oh, really?
Especially considering somebody made a joke out of it, but I didn't know if this was legit or not. But they were showing like a place that was making salt, and there was a conveyor belt, and just above it was an old tape style recording of someone blessing the salt.
Yes.
And that was the only way it became kosher.
Not quite, but
And I'm like,
okay.
what? So just because this video recording of this,
Yes, it does have to be blessed. It has to be blessed by a rabbi. However, that's
like,
not the only
dude.
reason why it's kosher.
I was like, I'm sure there's more to it.
It can't be iodized, for example. Like typical table salt just won't function because of the iodine you put into it.
Right.
It's basically in its purest edible form. And then it's blessed for it to be able to be
whatever the guy was
kosher
saying
salt.
on the thing.
Right.
And I'm like, there's got to be more. When I saw that, I was like, this can't just be it. This has got to be a joke. Oh.
Not quite. It does have quite a lot of truth to it.
I'm just saying,
not
though,
the
like,
whole
I
truth.
figured, like, it's not the whole, yeah, like, there's got to be more to it. But I was laughing my ass off.
But that part is necessary.
I was laughing my ass off, though. To think about a conveyor belt with just a videotaping, just repeating this blessing. I was like, we humans.
Listen, it's important.
I
Okay?
know. To the human. Yeah, I know.
Not just
There's
to
many
the
times,
human.
though, when we really look at the human beings, like, as an outside entity, if you really look at it, we are some fucking silly motherfuckers. On some of it, I mean, we take it to heart, and I understand. And
Okay,
then there's other
but
ones with traditions, and I understand.
Here's the thing. If you look at a few of those details, like, for example, the whole you must not soak the body of the child in the mother's milk thing. To this day, I still don't understand how chicken applies to that. However, the fact still remains that if you eat milky products after having eaten meat that processes in your stomach slower than the milk does, it actually creates more gas in your body. So it's a healthier way of eating to have your milky products beforehand, or to wait that hour until your body has processed all the meat before ingesting the milk.
So like it'll be like legitimate ice cream.
Uh-huh.
Before my steak.
Yes. Yes.
I'm okay with that one.
Start with dessert.
Kind of been there, done that, to be honest. I've had dessert way before I've had my dinner, so. Because I was never one for like, oh, you have to eat this first and then that second. Or the same goes with like, just because I want a pancake in the middle of the night don't mean like it's a bad thing. Like if I want to have pancakes for dinner, I'll fucking do it. I don't have to have pancakes for the morning. Like certain people are like,
listen, breakfast
you have
for
to have
dinner.
certain things.
Breakfast for dinner was a thing in my house. Like
bowl of cereal is the shit.
Right? No. You don't understand. My mom's whole obsession in life is like eggs. She lives for them. She can have them with every meal quite happily and never blink an eye. So every once in a while, I had to like slice up and fry up some tomatoes, make a nice scramble, and get her some toast and fresh churned butter, and she would be happy. And that was her dinner. And she was just
great.
like,
that sounds excellent. Especially, I mean, in all retrospect, the versatility of eggs, anyways, because they're in so many different things in general.
Well,
like,
she actually
just baking goods, and then like my mom makes some deviled eggs that are to die for.
Deviled eggs are
delicious. Oh my god, love the way she makes them. Something about, because I've had other ones, but somehow the way my mom makes it is just fucking good. I love it so much.
Well, Mom has a really, really, really stupid, delicate stomach. So she actually doesn't process meats almost at all.
Oh, really?
So she can have light meats, and she can, but only
like it feels like super tenderized and really
super tenderized, very soft, and still, if it's red meat, it will upset her. She will get sick, and she will be like iffy for a couple of days. For the most
poultry
part,
acts the same way, or is it like
she's okay with certain poultry? She has to limit her turkey, for example.
Okay.
But she's okay with chicken if it's in small quantities. She's
like chicken nuggets, okay.
Chicken nuggets are okay. Not her favorite. She doesn't particularly like.
But like a real, like not like, fucking, you know, that real bullshit processed airy bullshit. I'm like taking real chicken, grinding it up, and then making like your own in a way.
I would have to chop them up for her and make the breading and all that stuff for her and set it up.
Which I've done that once, and they were delicious. I made a good batch. I don't know how I did it. Probably can't duplicate it. Because the way I am, I'm just like, I'm not measuring a damn
throw it
thing.
In there. Listen, that's the best type of cooking, all right?
Like the fucking green bean casserole I made, Roy and fucking Brad loved that shit. And I was like, yes. Can I do it again that way? Probably not.
Yeah, you could.
Might be able to get close. It's been a while, though. What the fuck? How many years is that? Like fucking 5 years ago, I want to say.
Did you make it here? Or did you
Yeah, because we were here together.
Is that close to when we first moved in?
It was just me, you, and Brad.
That must have been like 2015, 2014, maybe, somewhere around that.
Fucking hey, that's how long it's been. Yeah. Like I still got the turkey that was given to me from work. It's still there. I actually did just a slight bit of research. I'm like, what am I looking for? I gotta let it thaw just to find out.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I feel like just because it's like, yeah, it's been frozen, but the door opens and closes quite often. Mm-hmm. So there's that.
I'll be honest, freezer burn would be my greatest concern. I would probably.
Well, for them, the only thing they were talking about, like if it had a soury kind of smell.
Yeah, like turkey usually does. I'll be honest, I would still eat it.
You would still?
I would still eat it. I think that the right spices, that little bit of sour.
The right spices and nuking it just right.
Top.
I always say nuking it just right in general.
Fire purifies everything.
Because, I mean, there's been people that fucking eaten... Like, this one guy... See, he was eating meat that was sitting there, and then it would mold. Mm-hmm. And then that
it's
was
actually
like...
considered a delicacy in certain parts of the world.
And I was like, that's the first time... When I was seeing that, that was the first time I was aware of that. But then there was one guy with the whole aging process, and then you just fucking heat it up, and there you go. It's like, yeah.
And if you dehydrate it long enough, it kills the bacterium in there. So.
Which, some good.
Fire purifies.
Oh, I was thinking, so David's trailer, he bought like a thing that it could dehumidify and everything. And I'm like, dude, try to sit down and make your own fucking jerky. It would be awesome. Like my buddy Travis that I had in Avon Park, his mom makes some awesome jerky, homemade shit, and you're sitting there like, oh my god, it's like a slice of heaven right there. Some good shit. They fucking definitely got expensive. I remember one bag. I saw the price first, $3 something. Then you see the bag, and you're like, oh, that little fucking thing. That's like barely got a few crumbs in it. That was $3.99. Fuck. No, dude. Yeah, I think there was only one time there was an actual deal, and I bought like, I want to say it was like 5 pounds, 5-pound bag. And the way I eat jerky, that lasted me a long time because I don't just sit there and. So this was like a little bit here, a little bit there. And it was one of those, the one thing I did like about jerky that I've noticed, because I'll try to notice certain things. With jerky, it's like a more sustainable, like I'm more sustained. Like I'll take that little bit and then I'm good for a while. So it's like, it's good to understand that because if I can, whenever shit goes to shit, and if I got some jerky, I'm cool for a while. I don't have to worry about shit, but... Still love everything else. I say I love everything else, but I was craving fucking fish fillet. And after we got it, I was like, it was okay. But then I looked at the receipt again and I said, I'm not doing that shit again. You know, I found out there is a way to get it for cheaper, but it's like, it's the whole app thing. It's a process. It's with the app, and it's a fucking process. But considering how long it would take to get to the point where we could at least get maybe one of them to that price, it would take forever. And my craving would be long gone. But yeah, they were good though. A fish fillet is good. It's good. I'd rather have a fish fillet than their burgers most of the time. But talk about things I don't like is the silliness of a Big Mac.
What's wrong with the Big Mac?
It's too much bread and barely anything in there. Like, I love the quarter pounder or double quarter pounder. That's the direction I go. Because to think about, they're gonna put, let's say a regular quarter pounder is the same price as a Big Mac. Well, the Big Mac is like not even half the amount of meat as the quarter. Then you got a lot of fucking bread. Barely taste the meat because of the fucking way the sauce and the lettuce is. Like, because I had it once. Somebody bought it for me once.
Actually,
I said thank you.
It would be the same amount of meat.
Those little 2 patties in there?
Yeah, it's the same amount. It's a quarter.
I highly doubt that.
No, it is.
I highly doubt that. That fucking thing barely. And it barely filled me up, too, because considering how, like, the airiness of that bread was not like, So I was like, nah, fuck that. I'd rather have my quarter. But I'm more into the double quarter. Which that reminds me of that lady. I remember this lady. So him and I, he was in Cocoa. I was visiting. Was it the day I got there? So it was around the time I'm visiting. There was a Mickey D's. I said, hey, let's go eat Mickey D's. So I treated him to Mickey D's. We ordered both each 2 doubles. Okay. And to us, that ain't shit. Right. Especially at that time. Like now I can't. I don't think I can throw down 2 unless I'm super duper empty and hungry. But the lady was tripping. Not in a bad way, but she was like, huh? And as we sat down and she came out ghetto. Oh, I gotta see this.
As you're gone. No.
Like, wow, we got the biggest burgers in the planet. We're gonna eat 2 of them.
You know what? I remember I used to get the what do you call it? The McDoubles, and I get the strawberry shake.
McDoubles and strawberry shake?
Yeah, I always get that.
Shit, I don't have strawberry shake.
See, I'll order the McDouble, but I'll do it with a McChicken. Take that meat, put it right in between, make yourself a McGangbang. We'll be fine.
The McGangbang. Yep. The only reason I know any of that, was Brad's friend.
Yeah, it was fucking stacking up by that high.
That motherfucker, he's made so many different combos and shit. I'm like,
that's
this
a tower right there, bro.
This
It's like leaning
guy.
to the side. It's like, how the hell are you gonna balance that shit?
There was somebody who was like, you could do like a surf and turf style thing and make you these, but what it is, you order it and then you just put it together yourself.
Yeah.
They were, unfortunately, they were saddened by the idea that they thought they were going to order it and then it'll already be prepared. And that wasn't the case. Is that you get all the stuff and then you put it together. Actually, David and I, now that I think about it, David and I tried that too. But when we got the package, we're looking inside, it was just, you had to put it together. And we were both like, oh, man. But it was, I mean, it's fine. But it's just one of those things like, we're paying for you to do it.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're paying for the ingredients.
Are we paying?
Yes, you are. You're paying for the ingredients.
Well, not at the price that some of that shit is. Fuck that. I bet you those ingredients are like pennies to the dollar compared to what they're fucking charging people. Especially how certain things has just gone up in a way that what pisses me off, and this is like every time I think about it, I think of everything as in a percentage.
Okay.
Not the dollar value, because everybody's like, yeah, but you know, nowadays that's worth X amount. I was like, yeah, but that's still a percentage.
Right.
Like I told people, like you look in the past, a person's out of 100%. So when you're looking at 100%, that's the monthly income of that person. That's what they're taking home. Out of that 100%, like most of their bills was maybe 50%, and then everything else was like maybe, let's say 25%, and then you had another 25% to do whatever the fuck you want with. Now it's like out of that 100%, 80% of it is shit you got to deal with, plus another fucking 15 to 18% is bullshit. Like you're left with maybe 1 to 2% left of your income, comparatively to the past. So when you look at it on a percentage wise, you see how fucked you are. Like comparable, fucking all these people. Oh yeah, you were able to, you know, have like the father and the mom could stay home with the kids, and you'll have the house and one car. I was like, yeah, of course you can't do that now. Fuck no, you can't do that now. I mean, I'm lucky as fuck to have what I have now because I've fucking went through a lot of damn hoops in general to do it, but it's just, it's saddening how like on certain shit with like, for example, the yes, it's nice we're having the pay raise now, but when you did the math, somebody did the math, I still couldn't find it. I was going to try to find the article. There was a kid from the Florida State that sat down and said, if the minimum wage kept going up at the rate that it was supposed to go up, we would have been at what people are asking right now. Which when they were saying about the 15% or $15,
Right.
that's what we would have been if
Right.
everything kept going. So it's like, why did it stop? Who the fuck stopped it? Can we punch him in the face? Who is it? Like, you know, because it should have never stopped.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is?
There's always a problem. But
Well,
it's like,
the movie In Time actually summarizes it.
oh, you
one of
know,
the
is that the
best.
one with Justin Timberlake?
Yes.
I didn't get to see that yet. I want to see that one.
Why?
It was
Why-
interesting,
why are
like
you
the
doing
whole
this?
with the time, right?
Yes.
Is right now. Why? That's like Interstellar. I got it coming soon. I want to see Interstellar. I want to see that one so bad.
In any case, in this movie, your value and your life expectancy and all of these things are going to be based on how much time you have. You stop aging at the age of 25. The instant that you turn 25, you stop. That's what you're going to look like for the rest of your existence.
Interesting.
How long you last depends on how you spend your time. You manage your time well, you can literally live forever.
So it's like certain tasks would produce how much extra time you can have.
Right, because instead of earning money, you earn time. Instead of paying with money, you pay with time.
That's
And that
interesting.
time is your life. Yeah. Go for it.
No,
Well,
no, but ain't that movie when he had that like the timer or something like that?
Yeah.
Where he, like
A clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're spending like time as a currency or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I
So-
think I saw that before. I think I might have saw like a preview or something.
And maybe that's where I
It's a
got the
phenomenal
idea of
movie.
like when people started talking about they were going to scan their hand on something. But that's
doing
where
that now.
Yeah, that's
you
how
would
they paid.
deduct time.
That's how they paid. You deduct the amount of time that is worth.
Okay.
So, for there's one scene. The mother of the main character she came from one of the higher levels, and she fell in love with a man from the ghetto area, and she moved into the ghetto area, and they did well until he passed away. When he passed away, because you can still die of random events. So you'll have time on your clock, but you'll be dead. One of his friends actually.
Oh, is that time transferable?
No.
Oh, shit.
If you
okay.
die with time on your clock, that time is lost.
Oh, okay.
So it becomes
So
a problem.
it has its limitations opposed to how currency, like for
Right.
us. Okay.
So there's actually one scene that he ends up with all of this surplus of time because this very, very rich guy, he's tired of it all. He's sick of it. He wants to die. So he goes into the ghetto intending to be stolen from, but he gets protected by the main character. And in return, what he does is while he's asleep, he transfers all of his time over to him and then goes and waits for his time to clock out on a bridge, passes out, dies.
Shit. So unbeknownst to him, he was given
All of this extra time.
from this guy. So
Right.
this is like comparatively like this 1% kind of
Right.
up here guy.
Right.
And he's just done with being around.
He's just done with it. And
Here you go, dog.
right,
Well, you passed out.
you wake up and he's trying to get to him and to save him, but he just doesn't make it. When then has all of this time, he goes to his best friend and he's talking to him. His best friend doesn't know what's going on. He's worried because this guy's freaking out. He's like, how long have we been friends? 10 years? So he gives him 10 years. It's the ghetto. So everybody lives day to day. At the beginning of every 24-hour block, you get 24 hours added to your time. But between eating and getting to work and
Because
paying
each
off
one
your
of
bill
those
and
things
all
are
of that-
taking time, right?
Right. Each one of those things is taking time.
So a sandwich is
By
like
the end
a couple of minutes.
Right.
Okay.
By the end of your 24 hours, you barely have enough to wake up to your new 24 hours.
Imagine that. Like, I need one more minute. You're
Yeah,
dead.
basically.
All he needed was one more minute.
But it's the ghetto. And the thing is, when you go into these very, very high poverty areas, a lot of them, all they need is one more minute. One more opportunity, the ability to be able to work 1 hour so that they can actually start getting a foot out the door, but they never get it because the moment that you get that 1 hour, you have to use it on something else. Something always pops up.
Oh, yeah. Something always fucking pops up.
So
That's like, oh, look, I fixed this thing on the thing, and now that thing's fucked.
yeah, exactly. So the thing is that they reach the point that they're just like, okay, so what do we have to do to break the system so that we don't have all of these levels, so that these people that are
More accessibility.
basically living together, like living forever, can know what it is to maybe suffer a little bit, and these people who are
Actually
literally
have that
dying
concern,
because they
too.
wanted to eat something,
Right.
be able to have one more day to be able to try and figure it out.
That's right. That's the other thing. It'd be like, so if I don't eat this sandwich, I'm easily gonna be waking up tomorrow. But if I eat this sandwich,
But if you don't
that
eat
might
the
be the
sandwich,
last fucking sandwich.
but if you don't eat the sandwich, you might die of starvation.
See, look at that.
It's a conundrum.
That's at the low of the low right there to think about. Like, if I don't eat it, I could die. If I eat it, I know I probably won't make it to the next
Right,
morning.
exactly. So it's the
Then at that
balance.
point, I'm like, some good ass sandwich.
But the balance is precarious. His friend chooses to drink literally a year's worth of alcohol in one night, dies of alcohol poisoning. His wife and daughter end up screwed. So
Damn.
it's the bad choices that we make because of our situation sometimes.
See, there's stuff like that. I don't know if I would consider that, but the lack of better words would be selfish as well in that. Because you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about all. I'm not trying to discredit someone's bad life. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, oh, woe is me. But yeah, you got those two right there that are dependent on you. And woe is you, right? So if you go, you fuck them two over, and you're not thinking about how you're going to fuck them two over.
He dies with 9 years on his clock.
9 years
And
still left.
his mom, his wife and daughter are just screwed. So, we also dig our own holes. So this movie actually covers a lot of this.
Oh.
However,
so that's a question. So let's say he knows he wants to himself.
Uh-huh.
Prior to that, are you still able to transfer that time?
Yes.
So like that, how that one guy did, right?
Right.
So like if he knew he was done, he could have gave time to the wife and kid?
The thing is that he wasn't thinking a lot. He's never had enough to be able to understand the concept of alcohol poisoning to begin with. He's never had enough to be able to completely overindulge. He's never had plenty. So the lack of knowledge in his situation led to a bigger problem.
He was just doing it because
he could.
It was so much of a good thing that he didn't know when to stop.
Exactly.
That's more okay.
That was his particular situation.
Okay.
Which again, poor choices that we make for lack of knowledge. In this particular movie, what they do is they steal a certain amount. Like I think it was something like 100,000 minutes, and they give it all to the ghetto. The moment that the reigning government noticed that people were stabilizing in this very low income area, they raised the taxes on everything. So there was no difference for their lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Our paychecks are the same thing. Yep. The government will keep raising our pay little by little, but they will simultaneously raise our taxes, so we stay in the same level regardless. When they stop this one, they stop this one too.
If I'm not mistaken, so our taxes, tax-wise, I think it hasn't messed. Like, I think it's still what? 7.5%?
Which is what they did. They paused it at the point just before the taxes would go up.
Okay.
So it's not really an excuse, but at the same time, it's a little bit of protection for what time we have. This is the time to save just before it completely comes crashing down.
Yeah, because it's one of those like, oh, hey, you're left with 2% of this left, but then now you got more time. Oh, we're going to raise your tax. You're still ultimately down to 2%.
Right.
Because the quality of the 2% is still the same. Even though, like I was saying to someone, like, let's say back in the day, 1% was like $20, which back in the day, $20 was a lot. Now you say 1%, it could be $200.
Couple $100.
You would think that's a lot,
feels like
but
change.
Today, $200 almost ain't jack shit, especially the way you look at how bills are. So it's like, even though that number, you see that number going up, it's still 2% or still 1%. That's why I always look at things as in a percentile way, because it's like, it's easier to consume. It's easier to understand that you're getting screwed. It's like some people just get overwhelmed with I got $50 bajillion. It's like, yeah, but that still ain't shit.
Right.
Comparatively to everything that's been going on. And you look at the past, like, that's when it's a lot. Now it ain't shit. That's like somebody was talking about, it's not like a fool's errand to want to sit down and say, hey, I want to save money. But they said if you save money in a slow way, ultimately that money's value is depleted.
Depleted, yeah.
And it's like, fuck, so you can't just save money and think you're going to do okay, because you're not.
Right.
Especially considering, like, percentage-wise, hey, you got to have, I think it was like 2 to 3% on the lowest end when it comes to putting down for a house. But then again, that's percentile.
I believe it's 3.5.
How much is a fucking house? How much? And then that number can go up. So that percentile is like, fuck me, I got to give you $200,000. Just at one point, we're going to be at that. Lord knows when.
I believe
but
it's 3.5% is the
3.5.
lowest that you
I
can give.
It might be that because there was something I was saying. It said 2, but I think it was like this special thing. But you were probably right on the general side, like it's 3.5 or something like that. But it's like, yeah, like this place, I pulled it up one day, and it was at 173,000 and change.
Okay.
Now it's like 220 something, and I'm like, that's not that crazy, but when you think about it, it's like it's still a hike.
Yeah, but it's
compared
still a
to some of these
seller's
other
market.
places.
You still would need to get an appraiser in, see what's it would be market value, and from there you can easily lowball it.
Which that was kind of one of the goals too. Is like, part of me is just I don't want to move. Yes, part of it's being lazy, and the other part's like my back's not going to be happy with me to try to move anything, of course. But it's like you'll be moving everything.
Yeah, I'll be
That's why I would sell that before I fucking have you move it.
just don't
Because
buy it.
that big ass thing over there. Which, like, some of that's just, I'm just getting rid of that, you know. And that over there.
Yeah,
Actually,
see,
I
that's why
gave
Jeannie has a projector.
information on that.
Oh,
That, you know what? That's what I didn't ask David how he was doing. Because he had bought, like, a small one. I don't know if he got to use it or not. But some of those projectors are pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like,
I have a
all I
mini
need is a
projector,
wall.
and it's like my whole wall.
There you go. Well, I got that for, like, $120, so I was happy.
Yeah.
At the time that I got it,
I'll still keep my projector.
because it is a projector just inside of it. And that's why I like the quality of these comparatively to how, like, yeah, all the LCDs and all that, but when you look at the price of the LCDs,
Yeah. But for me, moving is this.
it's just like that. Yeah. Especially if it's just like some of those people that are like presenters and stuff that I've seen, they'll just have the little laptop and the little projector, and that's it.
Booyah,
It's like,
shot,
fuck
you're
yeah.
set.
And there's my slides, and that's my presentation. Now you're gonna buy, right? No. Fucking A. To think about time, though, I can imagine there'll probably be more deaths under that kind of scenario than like right now, because you think about how many people are poor. Like, if you don't have nothing, you can still be alive, you know. But it's like, in that, it'd be like, no. Like, all that shit I hear about in the West mostly, none of them will be around.
Well,
right?
see, the way that particular area functioned, a lot of people, if you made less than a certain amount, you couldn't cross over into the higher ranks. But the people that are higher rank can cross over into the lower. So anybody who wanted a little dirty fun would come down into that area. That would put more time into their rotation. There were a few people that were more like, there was a priest. He would give out time to people who were desperate need of it. You had the ones that
Oh yeah, how did they handle religion? Would be curious. Like, for example, here, like, if you make a church, you don't pay taxes and whatnot. Like, so that'll be like exempt also probably in that scenario. But
And
then it's
whatever
like, how
extra
is the
time-
church getting their time?
What extra time the priests and the nuns would have from not having to pay taxes, they would give to the people.
Okay.
So, you know,
Right.
it's not a lot, but it usually helps. Again, our society
Especially
actually
that
mimics it a lot.
situation of all that person needs is a minute. Well,
Right.
I'll give you 5 here. Boom.
Right.
So you're good. You're 4 over. You're good. You're making
You're
it to the
set,
next day.
right.
There's your next 24. That's cool. I mean, at least that. But to live in that struggle, like how you were saying, like how to get someone that's up here to understand that. There's some people that just can't fathom that idea. Like, especially if you do bring someone down, they're like, "So this is how you live?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Why?
Fucking question.
It's like, why do you live this way? Because I have no other choice. It's like,
Like,
are
there
you
are
sure?
choices, but then there aren't. So there are things like, because I always look at it, I feel like for the most part, we always have a choice. But there are like that choice, even though you may have it, it's still limited by itself. So it's always like, I think it's steps of choices to get to a goal. And then once you're at that goal, then certain choices in this, like almost like a level, this level now has these choices where go just this much further. So I feel like we always have like the ability to get out of the ghetto, which people have shown that from time to time again. Like I remember the one lady they talked about on this thing. Yeah, my mom and this and that, and she got us out of there and this and that, and I thank her every day. But that
Yes,
was
but
a
the
struggle
level
for
of
her, and I'm like,
sacrifices,
there is sacrifices.
the
of
level of
course.
sacrifices that a person has to make to be able to get out of it is you have to take a leap of faith and blindly follow this road with no guarantee, because there is an element of fortune in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
You could do everything exactly right, and then at the
And then
end
just
find yourself with someone who quite literally forces you down because they have the ability to do it. Now, I'm not saying that this is the situation every
And
single
that's
time.
on different levels because I remember reading up on because somebody was came up to some young ladies and they were drinking Starbucks, and the guy was, "Oh, you guys like Starbucks, huh?" They're like, "Hell yeah, we love Starbucks." And he says it sillingly, but I understood where he was coming from. He's like, "Yay, capitalism." They're like, "No, fuck that." But it's like, in all retrospect, if it wasn't for how capitalism is and how can one use it as a tool, Starbucks would have never been a thing. And it's like, that's a person that took a leap of faith, like gathered up some cash, had faith in, I'm going to make this happen. And it could have fell flat on his face and we never would have had Starbucks.
Yes, it
but
could
luckily
have.
it took off. The part I look at that's nice is the idea, yeah, he might be kind of richy in a way, but it's like, for the amount of stores that are out there producing jobs, they might not be high paying, but they're still jobs.
Here's the thing. Among the fast foods, because Starbucks is a fast food restaurant,
It is.
among the fast food restaurants, it's one of the highest paying. It also has a concept of ownership. Every single Starbucks employee, whether it's a barista, whether you're just wiping tables, whether you're a district supervisor, is an owner, is a partial owner of the company itself. And the reason why that particular
like
model,
do the stocks kind of
yes,
set up, right?
yes,
Okay.
after 4 years, after your first 3 months, your provisionary period, you get assigned 1% stock. After 4 years, you own it, regardless of whether you leave the company or not.
Does our job do that? Because I was getting the Fidelity thing.
I don't know.
Is that what?
I don't know if our company does.
I thought that's what the stocks were.
But I know Starbucks does this particular model. After 4 years, they belong to you whether you work for Starbucks or not. Every year after that, you get 1% added to that. So you are an owner. So the reason why this particular business model is what worked is because it was, in fact, a leap of faith. The original owner chose not to use any type of banners, commercials, flyers. It was strictly word of mouth from the very first one. And
that's what I don't remember what time frame it was.
nobody does. You know why? Because it was strictly word of mouth. He opened that first little shop in the 80s, and at that time it was
word
tell
of
your
mouth,
friends.
really.
It was tell your friends, and they don't know if it's gonna sink or swim. So it was, you own a part of the store because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pay you next week. So they own a part of the store, and it took off. And tell your friends became, across the country, you have 2 competing Starbucks, one in front of the other, and you can go into this one while you're going to work, and you can go into the other one when you're coming back home, so you don't have to switch the thing. In Shrek,
Good, I don't have to cross the street.
right? In Shrek, they have that whole thing where the giant gingerbread man grabs the Starbucks cup, tries to drink it, throws it out, and all the people scream, and they cross to the Starbucks right across the street from them. It has become that.
I barely remember that now. Now that you say that, God, I've only watched that movie once. That's why I barely fucking remember anything. But yeah, it went right over to the other side.
But they have a good product, they believed in it, and what's more important, it became a concept of it's blind faith.
Right.
Now it's capitalism, 100%, sure, great. But when the very, very first Starbucks commercial came out, my daughter was actually 3 years old. It had been around for almost 2 decades
And
at
that's
that
the thing.
point.
I'm trying to remember when the first time I was aware, because there was, the way I lived in Brooklyn, there was a lot of shit I wasn't aware of. And in many cases, I was very fortunate for that. Like I was telling him, like one of the most amount of political information I've ever gathered has been the time I was stuck in this house during COVID. I wasn't aware of almost lickety shit anything, like the whole like the two parties, what they were called, all these other titles, and what they meant, like what was their like, oh, this is why they're that because of X, Y, Z and stuff like that. I had no idea about any of that shit, and I was happy for it. Like to learn some of that shit now is like, ugh. And then it's like, so it's like it's stuff like that. Like I didn't know about Starbucks, I think, until maybe 2000 and something is what I want to say, because I was in an area that actually had one. Because where I was, even in Avon Park, like that area didn't have that shit. So it was like I was in New York, and then I went to a little itty bitty place in Florida, and they definitely didn't have that. Like I remember eventually, I was like, "Oh, what's this Walmart?" I didn't know what the fuck Walmart was until I fucking moved to Avon Park because Sebring. Oh, this place. What the fuck? What's that big at Walmart? What the fuck is that?
Do they sell Walmart?
That's the first time I learned it. So that was back in tail end of 97 going into 99 is when I was aware of that.
It's a slightly higher level, better priced Kmart.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, Kmart had a decent amount of stores that already closed, unfortunately. Oh, and I heard talk about things closing. The Bed Bath & Beyond thing was closing, but then now they exist, but it's through Overstock.com. Now it's like more of a digital source, which I'm happy for anyone that was still able to keep a job. Let's say it that way. Because at that point, you're looking at, it didn't completely go under. You still had an option. So right now,
I never liked that store.
I think maybe I stepped foot into it twice.
I never did.
And I didn't hear about all the...
smell literally made me sick.
Oh, really? There was a smell?
I
don't know about a smell.
I would go past the doorway and the smell coming out of the place. Yes.
What the fuck? I don't recall this. I mean, like I said, I don't even know when it was I stepped into it, but I think it was at least twice. But I don't recall.
It was a smell. I didn't like it. Okay.
Smells I didn't like. When Grandma was cooking the cow stomach.
Ooh,
and the way that smell went throughout the house. Ugh. Oh, what is that? No, keep it away. I fucking hated that shit.
Cow tongue. Cow tongue is delicious.
I never had that. I know my stepdad was talking about bison tongue too, because he went somewhere that was an area where they predominantly give like bison burgers, and so it was mostly bison, like some place they're visiting. And I was like, it sounds good, but the thing is, like, is that another form of French kissing though?
No. And I actually was particularly fond of cow heart. It was very rare to get. Back home, I could only find it in like this one supermarket. And
that's the thing. I've never seen it. So like, it could be in a grocery store just to have the heart. Because I never seen one. Like, I was curious if like what parts weren't you able to get, when it came to certain animals.
You can eat all of it. You can eat all.
Like people get there's some people that get disgusted for pig feet. Like there's people like just pig in general, but the feet, especially like the one in the jars where they're pickled, they're like, oh, they get so disgusted. I'm like,
I'm over here like,
you're disgusted, but that's more for that person over there.
More for me. More for me.
I mean, would I try it? I would. I'm almost tried anything once. The only thing I didn't care for that I know Grandma definitely ate too was the chicken feet. So you'll
Ooh,
see the
chicken
feet,
feet
and
are
she's there,
delicious.
and I'm like, what the fuck?
How did she make them? Because my biggest
I don't
problem is
recall.
when they were either boiled or like stewed. I don't like that.
Maybe.
However, when they were deep fried or grilled, I was so
I
happy.
think like stew.
They get so
I don't know.
crunchy.
I don't remember now. Because it was always to the point when I noticed them eating it, they were already in the process of eating it.
Of eating
Because I
them.
was always stuck in my room. Thank God. Because I'd come out, I went to get something, and like they're just all up in I see these fucking claws, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, let me walk away. I'm gonna leave it alone. You enjoy yourself. It's stuff like that. I equate some of the way I am to stuff like that. Like, yeah, I may not like that, but I'm not gonna talk shit and be like, oh, how dare you, or you shouldn't, or anything like that. That's your joy. All right, peace out. I'm gonna be over here. That's how I am. So that's how I treat everything. Like, the idea that someone's gonna scroll to a thing, look at it, take their time to read it or whatever, ingest it however they're gonna ingest it, then go out of their way to click this bar, to then click a series of fucking letters together to make words because they don't like the thing, instead of just, oh, I'm gonna keep scrolling. So it's like, that's how I notice how it's just certain people just get so, which the word they use is triggered, and I'm like, yeah, but if you're so triggered and you don't like, just keep fucking going. What is preventing you? Like me, I looked at Grandma eating the goddamn fucking chicken feet, and I'm like, I have fun with that, and I fucking pieced the fuck out back to my room.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play devil's advocate towards people that I generally do not like right here. Um, there are certain situations that if you do not speak up against it, it becomes oversaturated, and then people become numb to it and start accepting it as something normal. And eventually it's just in your face all of the time. So a lot of these people, I like to believe in my heart,
I mean, there
are
are
only
checks and
doing
balances. So, like, how you're explaining it is definitely like one of those, like, well, if we let that keep going, fuck.
Right.
It's like,
I want to believe that these people are doing it more for the so that we don't become numb to how messed up this situation is. Like,
right.
okay, you remember the incident where it was last year, year before, the young man fell off of a ride and
here close to the eye thing,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
ended up passing away eventually.
Which I pulled up some information on that, and I was a little, let's just say I was a little perturbed at the idea that someone is just solely putting blame on the place, and I'm like, no, I
No.
also put heavy blame on the parents as well.
Yes,
Like, that was not a one-sided thing. This is multiple individuals.
there was a lot of
multiple,
different
you know,
choices that led to one very, very poor
I myself, as a
situation.
person that I've been around a lot of children, there are times you should be like, fuck no, you ain't getting on that.
Right.
And this one, I don't want to say it felt like it was forced, but the situation leans towards it as if, like I know every ride has its like, oh, here's the limit of this or whatever, the height of that, and that's where he
It
should have just
seal
never been on
properly.
that fucking thing.
It
period.
didn't seal properly. He should never have been allowed to ride. The thing is, again, a series of choices that led to an unfortunate event.
Right.
Here's the thing. To this day, my roommate has a tendency of bringing it up as a way of like, oh, I'm in on all of the gossip type thing, and quite
Why
frankly,
do I always see him that way too?
quite frankly, he kept the video. He kept the link to the video
Wow.
and in his phone, and I find it kind of disgusting because This child did not pass away at that moment. He had to endure what he had to endure on his way to the hospital. And first of all, the level of insensitivity, taking one of the darkest moments in a human being's life and using it to promote yourself by getting traffic in, is disgusting on so many levels.
And there's other things
And
I've
then-
seen used kind of similar.
Right. And then
From other
years
states
later,
and stuff like
using it to just kind of hype yourself up because, oh, I still have this, is just no.
Yeah, but why would you hype yourself up to have the video? Like, what do you gain? What's the gain there? Like, what the fuck?
It's a concept of, this was something that happened and I still have the information. It's
Like, you're still keeping it fresh in your mind
right.
for some
Like,
fucking
this is
reason.
this is something that happened and people need to remember, and it's like, I'm sorry, but that family's never going to forget. And you need to respect the fact that they're never going to get their kid back.
Plus, it's one of those, like, you should be so fortunate to have the capabilities of forgetting. Because if not, you'd be in the hell that they're in on a constant basis, that they're waking up with that as one of the first things that could pop up in their mind when you wake up every day. So, like, I wouldn't want to have that. Because I know what it, like, just losing Pop, you know, having almost 3 days straight of the way I was mourning, like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And we're talking about shit, like, at a level, that's me on 3 days, and then the rest was, like, a roller coaster. And we're talking about something that, for some people, they would never, ever, ever, ever let go. Like the unfortunate of one of our known bosses, where he lost a child due to some brain complications.
Yeah.
That is a never lasting. That man posts every time about that child, and I do not blame him one bit. And it's not one of those, oh, you need to stop that shit.
No.
I would. It would behoove me to fucking ever say anything like that for him. Like, if he needs to do that to always keep himself at. Maybe that's like a thing to help him with checking balances and his emotions for that. Then if that needs to happen, okay, go ahead.
That needs to happen.
That just needs to happen.
But as a third party who has nothing to do with it, you have no business doing that. Stop it.
Yeah, that is sad. Like,
but it's okay.
I think there was another ride too.
It's
that had
a concept
too.
of, I have ridden that ride. It's like, congratulations. So have like thousands of others.
I kind of wanted to, but then it was like later on, it was my back injury. I was like, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I was going to plan on doing it, but I just never got to it. Like, I wanted to do the eye, but I wanted to do it because I'm one of those, like, I want to share moments with people. And at the time that I wanted to do it, I had no one around.
Oh. Okay.
So I was like, nah. So I ain't doing that shit.
Yeah, my kid refused to get on the eye.
Who?
My kid, he refused to get on the eye.
Oh yeah, you guys were, so you were gonna try to do it?
Yes, because I'm working at Icon Park, and it just so happens that one of the people who worked the ticketing booth was just like, "Look, if you come by, we can get you in." And I'm like,
shit.
"Yes!"
That's kind of cool.
So I told Gene, and
But
he
he
was like,
refused,
"Hell no!
right?
Are you insane? I'm not getting on that thing." And I'm like, "Dude, it's an enclosed little basket, and you have a little."
I mean,
table,
you say little,
and
but it look as a nice
big,
size
yeah,
to have
no.
like a decent family.
Exactly. You're not crunched
Right,
in there.
yeah.
You have a little table. You can walk around. You get to see it.
And it looks so cool, like compared. I mean, I feel like it's the same size as that one I've seen, because the first time I ever seen like a big one,
He
like
was
when I saw the
horrified.
photographs of London and they had theirs, and I'm like, is it the same size or whatever?
I believe London's is slightly bigger,
That's bigger.
but it's pretty close. And
But it's
Gene was
nice.
horrified. He did not want to under any
I could imagine the
circumstances.
view is probably really nice.
Yeah, no, he does not want
He
it.
just know?
He know the entire concept. No, you know what the worst part is? I was like, okay, sweetie, so what do you want to do? We ate something. We leave. And where I park, you can actually see it very close. And it's a gorgeous sight. Like, it is truly one of those moments that
Were you
look
there
at
more
it.
daylight, or was it already getting dark with the lights?
It was near sunset.
Near
So
sunset?
it
Okay.
would have been gorgeous.
Oh,
However,
yeah.
my child refused. So
That would have been nice.
and for me, it's just like, I see it every day, and every day I marvel at the abilities of not just the way our minds work, but of making things happen and the way that we can rally people together to make these constructions happen in the first place. It's
Yeah,
just
there's so
phenomenal
many
to me.
things that on one level of like current day stuff, you're like, wow, how they do that. And then you can explain it though, because there are a lot of pieces of technology that first you had to build that thing to be able to build that thing to then that thing
To
helps you
evolve
build
it,
that thing.
yes.
But then there's shit in the past that we humans have done, and you don't
You
know
can't
how the
figure
fuck.
it out. You cannot figure
Like the
it
whole
out.
like I think the pyramids alone, you're like what the how the fuck? That's a stone that was over there. How they're gonna have stones over here to make the thing? And I'm like, oh shit. And the more they
See,
kept kind of pointing things out, more questions kept popping up, and you're more like, man, we really don't know shit. Especially like certain area that really got me was this ginormous wall thing of just huge stones, right? But there's one stone that's really long compared to like the other ones are about yay, and this one's like yay. But between this and this, it's so evenly you can even stick a piece of paper in there. That's how like
flush.
how the fuck are you making such a precise cut of that huge thing? Back then, that's where the whole people bring. Of course, people bring in the idea. Well, it's fucking aliens, and I'm like,
I mean,
not saying
it
it's
could have
aliens,
been.
but
It could have been. I don't know.
like that guy with the fucking hair, it's aliens.
Listen.
But like, you can't tell, you can't deny the fact, though.
You get me an aluminum
You know?
cap and I'll get on the train because I don't know how they did it either.
It's
So.
fantastic to sit there and see these wonders, and you're like, you just don't know how. Especially considering like you'll get a couple of people that come around. Even if we had the thing with a laser, we couldn't even do a straight cut. Like they'll sit there and literally say that today's technology wouldn't do it.
See,
And I'm like,
I feel like that's not
what?
exactly 100%.
Not 100, but considering like there are flaws in most equipment just because we humans made it. That's the way I see it.
I agree
There's
with that. Here's the thing. You have certain people that are born, and you don't have very many of them per generation, that are so far beyond anything
Especially at a young age. There's
that
certain
we
ones.
can conceivably do, even as adults, that they boggle the mind. We're talking Picasso. Let's take him for an example. I'm not a particular fan of his art, whether early, late, or whichever. I actually find
That's where to each their own on art. Like,
yes,
it's so
very much so. However,
art and music are like the top two things that are just so vastly across the board. Like one person will love this painting, but that next one, it could be the same person that painted it too. And they'll be like, no, I don't like that.
It doesn't speak to you.
It just doesn't.
It affects you a different
Which
way.
that's the other thing. Like gravitate and stuff.
Yes. However, you can't deny the fact that the man could sit there for the first time, be there 3 seconds, blindfold himself, and make a perfect replica of what he was just looking at.
Which there are, I've heard that, and it's such an amazing thing. Which I feel like I got a little bit of it because there are things I won't remember a fucking person's name if my life depended on it, but I'll remember what the fuck they look like. So that having someone at that level, like a just photo memory, I mean that's some.
But it's not just photographic memory. He
shit.
was painting blindfolded.
And then that, which, see, that's the part. It's like it's just that pure control of like
Exactly.
the imagery in your head is there. So that's why even with your eyes closed, the imagery is still there, and you're still gonna guide your hand in the way it needs to be to make said photograph.
But it's the word that you use, the control. So
definitely some
if
control.
you're not depending on a machine that anybody can use, and you are a very, very specialized person who happens to have attracted to them people who you can teach just enough to be able to mimic exactly what you do step by step, and you're that level of specialized, and they are that good and that in awe of you to actually learn from you properly. Yeah, you can make that straight cut 1,000,000 times. 10
And
million
then on
times.
top of that, that's another stone that was nowhere near where it's laying right now. So like to think about the origin of where a stone would be on planet Earth, next to where the fucker popped up later, is the whole other thing. It's like, okay, we got that cut there, cool, right? Yeah, it's crazy. That some bitch don't belong over here. It's like, yo, Stonehenge. What the fuck was that for? Still want to know.
It's the feet of the head that over at Easter Island.
Oh, you know what? I saw that and I said, that's funny. You can't tell me that's not true either. That's the thing. Like, there are certain shit, like, you can sit there and be like, I don't know how that happened, but then somebody could tell, it could be like this stone, but then there's no way to prove them wrong.
Stone giants, man. It's stone giants.
That shit is cool with those head things and those, man, that shit is like, part of it was, I think they were saying, was that to deter someone from landing on the island or wanting to get on the island? Was that a deterrence or was it just?
I believe they were sort of like military posts.
Because I know there was something I vaguely remember. That's why it made it seem like, oh yeah, these things were here. We feel like it was just like a deterrence against someone wanting to get on that island because the.
But it could have just
as
easily been a ritualistic location.
That too, yeah. So I didn't know 100% like what was the reasoning behind that, but I mean it's still badass. Considering like the ones you could see and then the ones that they found. Oh look, there's another one, but it was just because it's lower in the ground because the ground came up and it's like they dig it out and there's like, look, it's even fucking taller than what we thought, and it's like, goddamn, fuck man, some of the shit we dig up. Some of the, that's why I'm always intrigued when like there was, I think it was Joe Rogan or something that had this one older gentleman. There was two older gentlemen. One was talking about this Golepi Tepe, I think is what the name of the area is called. It's a freshly new dug up area in, I want to say Greece, close to Italy or something like that. Can't remember now. But it was like now they're seeing how that area is even older than a lot of the other places they've found. And then, but even though it's older, there's still things on there that you had seen on like carvings of walls and other places. Like the one that threw me off, he kept pointing out this almost every single area they dug up, like an old, like this probably was a town or whatever the fuck. There was like, here's a carving of like a person, and it looked like they were holding a handbag. And every single other place, even though it was like a different cultured area, would also have someone holding that shape of a handbag. And you're like, but they all had Gucci back in there? What the fuck? How the fuck? And that's the part that amazes me, like, to no end, is the idea of, like, so far in the past, where you got people that are just right here on this part of Earth, and you got these people who are just right here in this part of Earth, probably have never, ever once had one individual meet the others in any way, shape, or form, yet their artwork are very similar, the ideas, concepts of certain things when it comes to, here's an indication of a person in a spacesuit, like it looks like a spacesuit, coming to meet them, and I'm like, what?
Well, again, to say that they have never ever crossed in any way, shape, or form,
which is
a bit of a stretch.
It's a stretch. It is. It is. It's just we don't know like how long it would have taken that person or a person or persons to go from here to here. And just like maybe share a story or two, but
because like back home in the Taino reservation, you have a carving of a monkey on a stone. Now, monkeys are not native to the Caribbean islands. They're a creature, in fact, that never would have been seen there, but it is carved into the stone, and it's very faded at this point. However, if you take some sand and you throw it over it, you can see it very clearly.
Right.
The theory is that there were visitors. They would go in canoes and travel from Central South America, cross over, and island hop all the way down, leaving off information. Now,
And
from
that's
the
considering,
first person,
too, side note, were these islands a little more accessible in certain ways than what we would think now? Because, like, there's certain shit that, like, there was so many people that weren't aware of, like, how Alaska and Russia was literally
they were linked. Yeah.
a fucking a bridge of land, essentially. Where that's why, like, I equate most of the Native Americans and other indigenous individuals from southern areas like Mexico and even further, that a lot of their people came from that Asian region, because that was just, I feel, it was
Most
just
likely.
a clique, let's say it that way, that ended up saying, hey, we're going to go over here. And then that landmass closed, and that's why they're split. But it's like, no, these people are in relation to these people. These people would have never been here if it wasn't for that piece.
Right.
Like, when you really think about it, all of North America and South America probably wouldn't have had people, especially considering how they, determined, hey, we all came from Africa, and then when we were in the northern region of Africa, we went into two directions there. Like, that was the first split of mankind. You had the European, and then you had the Asian. Well, a lot of that Asian is what populated this North and South American areas. But it's like, if it wasn't for that landmass connecting it, we probably would have never had humans on this part of the land, right? Until the boats.
No.
Right?
You would have had humans. Here's the thing. There is no proof that they were the first humans to populate. They could have,
True.
A, killed off, B, just simply bred with them, or C, taught them their knowledge, which is how you end up with the same heliographs from the old world in the new.
There is that. But I'm talking about, like, even farther out, like who were the very first ones that came over to this part of land?
Okay, so
Like,
the
I feel
Caribbean-
like there would have been no humans, like not even the descendants
that
of.
wouldn't have been possible.
That's what I feel like, if it wasn't for that piece.
It would not have been possible because, okay,
Especially if they're, for example, if we take into consideration that the first, what we would call our ancestors, were only sourced from Africa, and that was like the pure spot. If we go by that, then that's why I'm thinking that way. You see what I'm saying?
but we're talking about tectonic plate movements over centuries and millennia, correct?
Which, if I'm not mistaken, definitely Africa was like.
Linked to
So
South America.
we want to say pretty much the Atlantic Ocean wasn't a thing.
Right.
I think that was all like bam.
Correct.
And then it was like bam.
And then it split, which
So it's
means
like,
that
when was the
there
time that
would
was
have
just
been
Africa?
people over there.
And would have been, right. So it would have been like, let's say, yeah, we did start in Africa, but who's to say that it was, some of the people went over to this piece, but then, like you were saying, with tectonic plates moving around, that's why there was indigenous people in that South Latin America
And
area.
submarinal volcano? Is that the word?
Oh, the ones under the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the term, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, it probably is.
I'm thinking in Spanish, so I don't know if that's the correct terminology. But volcanoes
know.
underground definitely moves all over the place.
Especially some of the shit just in our time, like the sea shit that happened in California where the guy's fence is like this. Because you're looking at the land like, what the fuck? But it's literally that the land shifted.
Yeah.
And it's like, to think that land, if it wanted to, well, I say if it want, it can. It's just when and how long or whatever. Where eventually a part of fucking California is just going to be completely disconnected from the United States altogether. It's just the way that fucking landmass works, and it's like, it's amazing how
Escape from LA.
We're like on a piece of skin that's underneath a bunch of flowing blood. That's how I look at it.
Yes.
Magma is the blood of the earth in a way, right there. Which that's how, when I see these volcanoes though, they're dangerous, man. We don't have no idea, like when they were pointing out Yellowstone.
Does that mean
And
that...
that Yellowstone alone can fucking destroy us like a motherfucker.
Does that mean that volcanoes themselves are like pimples?
That's pretty much... It's like it to a certain extent. It's just pimples ain't blood. I mean... You know what? Maybe a boil.
There you go.
That's
Boils
probably more.
the
We're always like, what the fuck did I do there? What was that?
My bag. Probably a spoon.
Oh, is your bag?
Probably a spoon or a
Oh, is
straw.
that what my head was touching?
Yeah. Straw? Straw.
Oh. It's already got a bend?
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice. I think the only metal one was that big ass one that I have for Slurpee. Or that metal one. I still got that. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Love that thing. It's like, yeah, it's big. It's like go big or go home.
That's one reason why I moved to the United States. Damn Slurpee.
There you go.
Damn Slurpee. That's another thing, man. To think about just how different we are across the world as humans is so like... All I want to do is sit there and just hear more stories and see more footage, see more, like, because there was a gentleman I think it was during lunch at work, and it was on one of the computers I didn't have my login, so I pulled up YouTube and there was this guy. He was out in, I think the first place he visited was Zimbabwe, and he had American candy, and he was bringing it out to the indigenous tribes just to say, hey, would you like to try this? And like certain ones were all right. Like the one guy kind of didn't like the Sour Patch Kid of this color, but that color was kind of all right. And then the little child over there liked it. And then there was, while he had some fucking Twizzlers in his hands, here's some ladies literally cutting up a fucking cow right there with their bare hands on this ground. And to see that, most people were like, ugh. But I was like, that is a normal thing.
Yep.
And then the drinking of the blood and shit like that. And then eating raw meat. Like, they were eating raw meat, too. And I'm like, there you go. That's just how it is over there. But then they try to the plastic. It's like plastic.
Actually, that's why I like Twizzlers. They taste like plastic.
Fucking plastic.
When I was little, I used to bite my Barbie doll's hands. Because
Why is her hands like that?
that's exactly how they ended up.
Like, she probably watching that movie just biting at the damn
I used to get yelled at by my mom.
Wow.
That was a good movie.
Just like,
Imagine while you're watching a movie, you had one.
I'm not eating it. I'm just biting at it.
I know, just they're biting it in the movie theater. You're lucky. No. But yeah, like some of the candy. I mean, especially the what was the one they liked the most? I know there was one where all the head tribesmen were there, and he gave them like the Rice Krispie treat, and they're like, He's like,
and they just kind of kept dipping into
they're
it.
deliberating, okay, and they're just the fucking thing's gone. I mean, he had this like long, huge one. They're all fucking just tearing off the ones tearing off pieces, giving it and giving it. Oh, there's something over there. All right, here, and then they still didn't say shit yet, but they're fucking consuming the fuck out of it, and eventually,
It's okay. He's like, it passes. This one passes.
It's like to see how they live, and it's like it doesn't look bad. It's just that's the way they live,
right.
and I don't see anything bad of it. But it's like there's people that, when you look at that though, you still don't know how good you got it in certain areas, and that's probably why you got a decent amount of people, like especially here in the United States, they'll get upset with certain other people because they're like, you don't understand how good you have it, and here you are doing certain things that are like. You don't know how it's negatively going to affect you, because it's like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but you're not understanding what your actions are going to, in turn bring out as how way of life is going to change because of and you might not like it, because right now you're especially when I say freedom of speech as an example. I say there's freedom of speech almost anywhere. It's just everything has a different grade of reactions
Yeah.
and because like
Acceptability.
here I would say yeah you have freedom of speech, but it depending on what you're saying has to a certain extent of who the fuck is gonna piss off and how they're gonna fucking either that one's gonna punch you in the mouth, this one's gonna put cuffs on you or whatever. You
Right.
know, there's various degrees of like you know
Acceptance.
action, reaction. That's how it happens, you
Consequence.
know? Like, here's a consequence you're not aware of. Nobody said that there's not going to be a consequence with the freedom of speech.
Right.
Now, if you're saying something obviously not in a vulgar way, like vulgar shit, you know, there's, oh, fuck you, fuck this. There's some vulgar
There
shit
is
that I
no
like,
such
you know.
thing in the world as a bad word, only the bad connotation that humans
Oh,
choose
yeah.
to give it.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's if you're delivering it with an intentional way, that's where I'm like, okay, now you're an ass. You know,
I'm
like
always an
let me go,
ass.
fuck you. I love you though. You know, it's like, but if you're like, fuck you, like with legit hatred, like that's when I'm like, no, fuck you. Okay. It's just everything, almost everything can be interpreted in a bad way, or a good way, or a negative, like, or a neutral way. Because there are certain times where I've been noticing it's all through text, though, is the main issue. So text as in text through a phone between a person and another person, an email, or like just put in a comment on a post or whatever, or someone that posted something. You're reading someone else's words, but in your way.
Yeah,
So
the
you're
tone is in
reading
your
it in
head.
your way.
The tone is in your
Yeah.
head, not
So
theirs.
it could be something
Intention.
that's not negative at all, but how you're reading it and interpreting
Interpreting it.
it, you're this motherfucker. You know? And that's been one of the other real disconnects, I think, too, across many discussions anybody would have. Like, I think if they're just on the phone, it'll be a lot different. Especially in person, because there are people, too, now they're at a disgusting level of you would have the audacity to say, I wish you unalive yourself. All willy-nilly on the internet as if it's okay.
And
When we
again,
know for a fact, if you were in someone else's face, you would never utter those words out of your mouth.
and
Unless it's a
again,
real crazy.
you reach the point where if you ignore something, it becomes numb and it becomes habitual.
Which this is where, like, I feel there needs to be a consequence for something like that. In what way, shape, or form, I don't know. I'm not the one that's going to... What you got?
I'm sorry, man.
What's up?
When in the fuck did that term unalive yourself even start?
Well, it's through the fact of what's like sensory and what's not. Like, for example, I equate it to like how Deadpool can just cuss and everything like that, right? But when he went to visit Spider-Man in Spider-Man's cartoon, it says he's a fourth wall, so it's like he's talking to us, but he'll get censored. So instead of saying the K word, it's unalive on that show.
So when
Because
people
that was
start
more
taking offense to
appropriate
yeah.
for a child to
But who
hear.
dictates that shit?
That's the thing.
PTA.
Oh, those motherfuckers.
A lot of grown-ups want to fucking control certain shit. Actually, I was just looking at a thing that was like fucked up in a way. And it was like, the person was asking these young ladies, would you say a child would have consent to just go and want to have like let's say they're 12. I think that's the age they threw out there as an example. So they're 12 and they want to go get a tattoo. Should they think, no, they don't, no, they're not at the right age to do this and that. And then the follow-up question was something that's currently going on with the gender area of life. And it was like, would it be okay to put this particular hormone or a blocking hormone within this child? Well, you know, one lady was like, I know it sounds like a little hypocritical, but... And I'm like, really? So here's one that was just saying that's a long-lasting thing. And that's why they shouldn't do it, they shouldn't have, because they're too young, etc. But here's another thing that has long-lasting effects. But now you're changing your tone.
See, I'm going to be really honest. When it comes to that particular subject, I have very strong feelings.
And I know everybody does too. And that's the thing I've been looking at is that it's a reflection of how we humans are so selective on
Well,
certain things, though. Like when I remember just talking about the Bible alone and how people are with that, and then how people are with the Quran, and how I've heard of how like these guys are only focusing on this section of the Quran, and that's why they act this way. And then you got these people, they're about the whole thing because it's about balance, but then they still kind of ignore this over here, and it's like we humans, we can't do it all or nothing.
see,
In
the
many
thing
cases.
is, when I was growing up, and I know that education has changed a lot, but I grew up, my schooling was in the 90s. You know, like I was born in 85. So officially school, I started in the 90s. I finished school, like traditional education in 2003. In that
Same, I'm
time
an '03
period,
kid.
in that time period, the education system was very transformational. It was very moving because you have the boomer children just getting out. So they were still, almost everybody in this era was still being raised by people who truly believed in their youth that the world was coming to an end and it wasn't worth reproducing. And then after
And
they
that's always depending on the area too, because I'm pretty sure there's areas that was the complete opposite.
after they reached financial stability, they realized, oh well, it hasn't ended, so let's just go ahead and reproduce. So they had all of their
Oh, like that
kids.
Y2K thing too.
So when you have these guys, these boomer children are in school right now, but they're being raised by people who were completely and utterly messed up by psychologists and shrinks who weren't exactly well aware. They did manage to balance out a lot of their negative thoughts, but they did it mostly through pills, so they were unbalanced.
A lot of
And
medicated shit, man.
and the general consensus was you have to be nice and you have to help, and sharing is caring, and save the planet and be a planeteer and all of these wonderful things. Now,
And each thing you just said, it's to a certain extent depending on the situation.
now,
Everything to me, because I'm one of those, it's situational for me.
sexual education had been implemented. How it was going to be developed
Why did you say that?
depended on the area. Now,
Yeah, like I don't think I had a class that even wanted to talk about it
right.
during my time.
Right. Now, when I was here in Florida, we had a very light introduction to it, but nobody dared step foot into it. When I moved to Puerto Rico,
Yeah, now
we
you say
used
that,
to
it
have
was, yeah, when I came in Florida, there was the textbooks that had a small little chapter of the reproductive systems, and then that chapter was pretty quickly done.
right.
I'm just
In-
gonna shut the fuck up.
What do you do?
Yeah, 'cause I got one of those classes, right? But what happened was, I fucked up, put in the wrong hole. It's like the classes didn't help shit. I'm just joking.
Now, when I moved to Puerto Rico, and
That is
actually it's funny
considered
that
the
you
back
say that.
door. No, it was fine.
In Puerto Rico, from second grade, you had to go to a seminar once a year where the girls were put into one room, the boys were put into another room. They explained what changes your body was going to go through. They explained how it hurts to grow breasts. They explained how after you have sexual intercourse for the first time, your hips will widen. And your hormone balance changes.
Which
They
these are all
explained
just natural. Hey, this is what's gonna happen. It's not like
they
we're
gave
not
us
telling you
pads.
just for shits and giggles. It's
Right.
like it's going to happen. Like,
They gave us pads and little bags to carry them in because girls can start bleeding as soon as 9 years old. And
is that about the young? See, I was thinking around that 11, 12,
12,
15,
15
right?
is usually the starting age, but you can start as soon as 9.
So there,
You can
there
start
is up
as
to
early as
okay.
9. You can start as late as 17.
Because
But
what was the early? I thought 13 2 was the earliest I'm aware of someone. I don't know if it
8.
was accidental when it comes to
8 years old.
pregnancy. So eight
And
has been the
actually,
youngest
there
found?
is a recorded pregnancy of a 4-year-old.
Damn.
And it is a recorded pregnancy, and it
recorded?
was full term, and she
Where?
gave birth to it.
Where on planet Earth? Where?
It was in Central America.
You know, I see it. I'm not trying to be rude on that one.
No,
I can see
no,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
no, yes. Run with that thought because the fact is that the reason why in Puerto Rico I was getting such an in-depth class compared to what I was getting in the States is because the likelihood of early pregnancy was super high. Our children, our 12-year-olds, our 11-year-olds, were getting pregnant. So
There was more. There was
The-
more opportunities of that age group
they
to
were
experiment.
they were very proactive in gaining knowledge because telling someone abstinence is the way is not going to guarantee that they're not going to go through their hormones.
That's the
Especially
main,
when you have them watching
Especially the
people suck
hormones.
each other's faces every day in the telenovela. So,
Maria.
right.
Para Fernando.
Exacto. So, for us,
Well,
one of
plus I also look at it like is not out of 100 children, you're probably gonna have at least minimum 30 something of them are gonna
Experimenting.
be the opposite. You tell me no, that means I'm gonna do it.
right. For us, we had a very, very particular class that always hit me hard. There is a difference between sex, sexuality, and sensuality. All that sex is referring to is whether you have a prostate or a uterus. It has nothing to do with what you like, what you won't
Which
like,
I'm
what you
getting
find
close
pleasurable,
to
what you do.
the whoever it is will try to put a finger in my bum for
Yeah.
which
So-
somebody was saying now that what was started at 40, you could start at 50. I'm like, And another person
I
went the
wouldn't.
other way. There's like, no, you should start at 30. I'm
Yeah.
like, I still don't want this finger.
But
I don't even want my own finger. You think I'm like, no.
the thing is that people take it to an extreme. It's like, well, I don't want to genderfy it. See, genderification is actually just a social belief. And
It's like, is it like this though?
Pink
in certain
was
cases,
actually
it's what
a
makes
royal
them
color?
just comfortable, and that's that.
pink was a royal color. You used it for the crown prince. It was not a color for a girl. It was literally a color for the crown prince.
I never really wanted to just 100% associate a color with anything. Like, cause it's like
Yeah,
it's just
but-
a color. Oh, look, I can see it.
But see,
Our eyes can perceive these colors.
too many people love to make the argument, well, pink is for girls, and I don't want them to decide whether it is a boy or a girl yet. So I'm not going to have them wear pink. It's like, you see, you're the one who's creating that standard.
That's like when you look at life in general, right? Not any creature, like the most beautiful birds are mostly males. Does that make that like, you know what I mean? In the eyes of birds, and just in the birds world, I've seen that so many times where it's the male that's the beautiful, colorful thing, and then the female has like plain Jane looking kind of, but they have to look as beautiful as possible just to get the opportunity to mate with said female.
Well,
And then
yeah,
with
because
us, it's like we're trying to equate like if that beauty would be more on the female side.
Well, in
just
the world
because
of
the color
birds,
and whatnot. You
in
know
the
what I
world
mean?
of birds in particular, females blend because females are the ones that are taking care of the eggs.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
you need to be able to hide in the leaves
But
and the woods and all
the
that
way
stuff.
you were explaining it would be like you leave it up to somebody, they'll think that's the girl because how pretty and look at the colors.
Right.
And it's
but
like
no,
that's
no,
not
no.
how. just because you're perceiving
First
it that
of all,
way.
they are that colorful to be able to attract a mate.
Yeah.
To be able, the brighter you are, the livelier are your hormones, so you will reproduce better.
Yeah.
And you will protect the nest better because you can pull attention away from the nest, which is being guarded and protected by the one that blends in.
They're like, I don't give a fuck what color you like. I've seen so many men that are
But
just
then
wearing
again,
pink, and would I automatically think the different of them?
but then
No,
again,
it's like,
birds, I don't know if you're aware of this, unlike humans who are female, 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 male, birds are actually male, 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 female. And all female birds have one testicle, one ovary. So if the ovary is actually damaged, they will transgender into male.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, how many species of bird is that? Is
Almost all of them. Almost all of them. Because they are all that combination.
Oh, that's you, isn't it?
The same way that humans are XXXY, they are, I believe it's M and H, W.
What's the percentage of that phone, and is everything still running in that thing? Because I'm curious now, because like I said, we were thinking about that battery.
This one's not connected first.
Well, no, that one should be connected.
To what?
It was just black out. I'm talking about just Dad's phone.
That's your dad's phone.
No, the other one's my dad's
This
phone.
one's?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was your dad's phone.
So what's the percentage on that one?
Currently at 63%.
So it has gone down even with the charger in it.
Yep.
It was at 91. So is everything still playing all right in the room? Go check the room. Because it might look okay here, but it might not even do shit over there.
Yeah, everything's okie dokie.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure if it turned off or whatever. I know that's why I got the good one towards her, and then my dad's towards me, because I feel like the battery would shut off and fuck me. I don't need to see my ugly mug.
Wow, it's like that now.
I'm purty. No.
Make you sing I Feel Pretty.
I think I never had a problem with any of the stuff that's been going on, except for once they started saying that a parent wants to. What was it? One of the situations was someone forcing a parent to have a situation happen for their child a certain way. And I was like, well, first of all, that's not your child. That's their child. That's number one. Number two, for as much as you want to talk about respecting things, how about you respect that child to organically get to a place mentally, emotionally, and physically to what they would want to try, not try, attempt, etc. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
that's the part I look at. Let's stop getting in each other's shit. Because I understand where certain people come from, but then there's other people that muddy that water, and that's actually that's like the grand thing of it. Like I'm looking at it like things used to be like a nice, beautiful pond where you can clearly see down to the bottom of it, and people have kept throwing dirt in there to the point where now you can't even see barely just through the surface, and that's where I feel where we're at is that just. You have people with good intentions in multiple areas, whether what side, everybody got a side and shit. But then you got those ones within each side that are muddying the damn water. So, like, this person has good intentions, that one right next to him don't. Like, the whole thing with this gender stuff, it's like, some of them I understand exactly where they're coming from, and the other ones I'm like, wait a minute, pump the brakes. But then on the other side, they're so hardcore on their stuff that first off, a lot of them don't want to listen. And then you got the other ones that are just like, and this is me, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but the whole second when I see you need Jesus, and I say, that's where you need to pump the brakes, because this is a reflection of you.
I am not sure what a Hispanic male's opinion is going to do for me.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's just true. It's just one of those, Me as an individual, I say, you have been forcing God in schools. Now they want to force something the opposite of thereof.
Right.
And I feel like this is like, these individuals are acting like that teenager that they're against all the things the parent wanted you to do.
Right.
And that's what the landscape feels like. I'm not saying that's what 100%
No,
of
but
it is. But you see what I'm trying to say, I guess?
Instead of leveling out,
Right.
they went from extremist towards the, what is the word? Theological?
I think that's the right word for that. I think. Don't hold me to that.
And
But we're going to go with it.
Instead of managing to balance it and make it so that you do what you do at home, you do what you do at school, and we do not cross, they went exactly opposite. And now you just have an extreme of, I don't want God anywhere near.
Which that is the other thing, is like things are a little too extreme. Like I looked at nice things here and there
It's
that
like,
I find.
At what point are we going to change the dollar bill because it says in God we trust?
Which last I remember, God and the government shouldn't even be together in any way, shape, or form, because I thought it was supposed to be separated anyways.
To God what is God,
Right?
to Caesar what is Caesar's.
God and state should be different, you know. Anyways. So it's stuff like that, and then I talk to individuals, like, so my brother is a prime example of being bi, but has a great relationship with God. Like, he says, I have a great relationship. And it's like, that's an expression of, like, first off, I didn't think ever at any time that people were 100% saying God didn't like gays or whatever the fuck. Because I'm like, if that person over there who is of the Word of God, and it says, well, God loves all children, that means it's all children. Not all children except for, no. At that point, anyone that says except for, that is a human thing.
Actually,
not
okay,
a God thing,
so
right?
that is in reference to I believe it's one of the Psalms that they list off things that could send you to hell. Well, that technically the Bible does not make mention of hell. What it makes mentions to is the destruction of your particular soul. So
Destruction of the soul.
right, you would return to the primary. Basically, God would reabsorb you. Now, here's the thing. What we love to ignore when reading this, because it mentions the gays, is it also mentions people who braid their hair, and people who expose their knees, and people who wear jewelry, and people who do adultery, and people who lie, people who...
The one problematic part that I have with most of this stuff is that it sounds so humanly trivial.
Yes.
And that's why I can't take it serious. Because how is an entity of such magnitude give a rat's ass that you just showed your knees, that you're doing that with your hair? You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing.
That's me, though.
Here's the thing. If you look at the time in which this was written, those...
Written by the hands of a human.
Hold on. Because I have an argument for that too. If you go back to the time in which this was written, these were things that were traditionally used by prostitutes and adulterers. Just like there was a time where you only got a tattoo if you were of lower rank lifestyles or in the Navy. And that was the only reason why you would ever have a tattoo, period. So, or if you got your face
And that's
cut,
the thing about like different traditions too, of different areas of the
having
planet,
scars in certain areas of your body. It wasn't because you fell off a bike. It was because you were sleeping with a man and he cut you. You know?
How'd you get that scar? Well, it's a funny story. I tripped over this rock.
Right. And the thing is that you could have tripped over a rock, but society would have seen you as a woman of the lifestyle. So at the time, these were things that were used by people who were actively encouraging negative behaviors to society in general. So it's the same thing as the referral of God as a male continuously. God and all angels are genderless.
Which that was one of the other things that I always looked at. I'm like, so who are you to say that this entity is what you're claiming the entity looks like?
Here's the thing. When they appeared in human form, what they were reflecting were males because they were speaking to males who only respected males. They could have just as easily
and then they call
appeared
me
as a
sexist
female.
for calling it like, fuck that dude trying to tell that chick what to do. You know, that's the type of person I am. Because it's like, I say it on all levels. No one chick should tell another chick what to do. No one dude should tell another dude what to do. No one person general should just tell another person what to do.
Even in that case, when described, what they are describing is androgynous at best.
But it feels like, you know what it also felt like? Because I was looking at something that was equation. Like, I was like, oh, it could be like that when it comes to God, is that you're only seeing a reflection of yourself.
Yes.
So whatever you were or are, that's what you're seeing. It's
right.
not, it's just you can't really actually see the real thing because your brain cannot perceive it.
Right.
So like one of the things I said that was like that was Galactus. Galactus, no matter what planet he landed on, whatever race those individuals were,
that's what they
that's
see.
what they're seeing out there in a bigger scale,
version,
of course. Yeah. And I was like, that feels like what probably the concept came from, is derived towards, maybe that's how God really is that he or she is just he or she because of who they're talking to. If that's so-and-so's mom, hey, I spoke to God and she told me this and this and that, was because she saw a she because she's a she.
Right.
Like, that's what you're seeing. You're just seeing a reflection of yourself because you're not capable of seeing
that's the only thing you're capable of processing.
Right. But like, you can't process the other, like the almighty thing of the,
yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
You know, it's too much. Our little feeble minds cannot do this. So it's like, that's why I never thought about, like, when these people were like starting to think about the gender and race of God.
See,
I'm like,
one thing that really does bother me religion wise is having female heads.
which part? What?
There's
some parts I don't know of.
The priests, the rabbis, having them be female. The people leading that bothers me because of all of the things that the Bible actually has as a deep, deep rule is that there are no open wounds allowed at the altar of God. And this is something that you could be the most prestigious elder male in the whole of the Holy Roman Empire, and you cut your finger until that scab fell off and it was clean skin, you were not allowed to serve at the altar.
Really? See, I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
This is a very firm rule that is established at the very, very beginning.
Interesting.
And
I didn't know about that.
As a female, regrettably, from the moment that we reach our maturity, we're bleeding randomly all of the time.
Which, on one case, you can say that is a permanent open wound.
Yes.
Which, then that's why, in certain other cases, when someone wants to cut their thing off and then create this open wound, that is an open wound.
Exactly. Now,
which in their case apparently have to go through rigorous things every day just to keep it clean and
yes.
whatnot. Which I'm not saying, no, don't get me wrong, I was not saying like a woman don't do something to keep it clean.
Well, we are more prone to getting infections than males are.
Right.
But that's
with
exactly
that being
the point.
A legitimate open wound, there is infection that you can happen in a blink of an eye.
But that's exactly the point. It is, in fact, an open wound.
But that's what you were saying about, so a woman wouldn't be able to be at that level.
Again, we serve in our own way. We literally are able to carry life inside of us. We are living monuments to the greatness of the creator itself, why do you insist on having to lead the flock as well when you can't serve at altar because you have a constant open wound? Which is like number one rule.
That's what you're saying.
Sorry.
No, but I see exactly what you mean. So it's like, but that's the other thing. Is like,
I would love to be argued down from that particular pedestal, but I would need it to be biblically proven.
Right. Well, right. It's not just them. It's also, it has to be having some hard, like, evidence of, look, this is why it's kind of can be debunked.
Right. Like exactly. Right.
I think the only reason I look at it as a meh is because it's still a human being made it up. I still look at all religion as shit made up by a human being. Like, do I say God don't exist? I'm on the middle. I can't tell you yes, and I can't tell you no. That's just where I'm at. And some people probably can't fucking take that because you have to be one side. Because there's always you have to pick a side.
Not really. Choosing not to choose is an option.
Do I feel like everything's just more on a human side of? I mean, all these are, I think, still all concepts that only a human mind can create.
But see, the thing is that these were rules that were phrased in such a way before modern medical science, where we can recognize them as they are. So the fact that they got that close to modern medical science,
but at the same time, it's
without having the knowledge,
we're looking at it as if we assume such a knowledge does not, like, because there's individuals that right now I couldn't tell you jack shit about the stars, but there was people in the past that could. They could tell you shit about the planets, and they didn't.
Yeah, but they said that there were only 5.
Shit, right? Well, because you could only perceive that many at the time.
Right. Exactly. Now here's the thing.
But you have individuals that they kept on and on and on to learn and learn and learn. Like you were saying about certain individuals having that capability, and the other ones could not.
Yes, but having
that's somebody who could have been the one that worded it that way. You know what I mean? Like that was the only person that would get it. Here, I could word it this way, and they'll get it.
But in this case, there would have had to been 44 continuous people with that particular type of knowledge whose phrasing cross-references itself in multiple points, despite not having grown up in the same societies and being part of different groups and
plus
being raised
language.
There is a huge language barrier between quite a few, and we're talking about 44.
What was the original language to the next time to then the next? So it's like from here to here, it could be completely different from the original. Because I always look at that, like the same as goes with like I equate it with gossip. I could tell him about so and so did a thing. He could tell you, and then tell that person. By the time it comes back to me, the story's completely different. And I feel like that's how it can be with translation. And then you got the manipulation of translation. You might have that one person who intentionally says, well, it would be this, but it sounds better this way. And then there's someone right there manipulating what should have been to what they wanted it to be. The same as, for some reason, I don't know who this King James guy is, because I don't give a fuck. But the idea of like, oh, this is King James Bible. So it's not just a Bible of, so it's his Bible. So you're telling me, in a way, and this is just the way I perceive it,
well, actually,
is that King James wanted it written that way.
Yes.
Oh, take out this part, leave that part, take out this part.
Quite literally.
Leave these, cut that one in half. You know, that's what I feel like that is.
No, quite literally. That is what that is. And the Pope has the authority to alter any chapters that he desires. Now,
right there, that's a big issue. The fuck you just said that to me.
Thing is,
I didn't even know that. I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
I wasn't aware of that. Okay. See, I'm not aware about all that religious shit because that's how much fucks I give. Not in a disrespectful way. I just don't give a fuck. But to the idea of that someone could say I can alter a chapter, like to give a human being, just one human being, that kind of power, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You know, that's even more of a fuel to that fire of we humans created this shit and that's that. Like the idea, I remember when I first learned about que una mujer que se puede tener una falda. And I looked at it. I'm like, and I looked at it, and I thought about it in different angles. And then one angle pissed me off, and it was the angle of what if these individuals who thought about the only reason a woman can't wear pants is because they want readily available when they wanted it. I could bend her down, take what I want, and then I can leave. Which at that point I was like, I'm pissed at the dudes, right there automatically. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, how dare you subjugate these women to that? But I'm not saying that's what it was.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay. I'm pretty sure you remember this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So my auntie, right, when she was my great aunt, when she was rather young with her first husband, he had that mentality of women wear skirts and you are not to wear pants. No wife of mine is ever going to be wearing pants. So she, being herself and working at a clothes factory at the time, she went and she bought these 3 very beautiful pantsuits.
My grandma did that too. She had the old school big ass fucking heavy dude making clothes and shit.
Right. So she she and my grandma actually worked prepping and setting up the outfits. They didn't actually make them. But
like getting the materials certain
setting
shapes
them,
or whatever.
Right. They didn't actually make but yes, that in those areas that's where she worked. She bought these very beautiful pants suits. 3 of them, and
some
then
of them look great.
She was freaking out because, oh God, what the fuck did I just do? And
so it was like an afterthought. You got, oh my God, lovely this is, and then later after you got it, wait a minute.
Whoa, wait up. So she's like, well, I don't want to rip them up. I don't want to take them back, but he's not going to let me wear them because no wife of his is ever going to wear pants. And she's
so controlling.
She goes and she buys the skimpiest little mini skirts. And when I say this woman had 2 asses, it's like when she was thin, she had 2 asses. It was...
Damn!
Yeah, exactly. She was just boom. So... She buys these skimpy little tiny mini skirts, waits until he and his friends get out of work because they live really close to where he worked. And as she hears the bell, she pulls the mop, and from the 3rd story balcony of where they lived, she started mopping the balcony with her ass hanging out in the mini skirt.
Oh shit.
So he's coming out with all of his friends and all they see is like underwear. And
whoa.
He goes upstairs and he's like, he's like, hold up. Didn't you buy some pants recently? And she's like, no, that was Milagros. I would never. He's like, how about you get some? So she got to keep her sense.
But I see what she did there. That's smart. That'll teach him. Because I'm not afraid to flaunt, okay?
There you go.
You're the one that has an issue. It's like,
hey, she was wearing a skirt.
the idea of like pants, I'm like, there was certain areas on this world right now that I know nobody's wearing a pair of pants at all. Like they got one big piece and that's it. Like, who the fuck just thought? That's why I was thinking the idea and the concept of pants and when it existed next to when all this shit was made up. It's like, that's what makes it feel like it's just a man fabricating shit to control women.
Listen, the butt dress is fabulous. That they want,
you know? But it's like, it's so controlling. Like, all these levels of different areas of control, like certain things when you're trying to use fear for control. And it's like, I just don't like none of it. Like, I really don't like none of it. I really don't.
I mean,
it just irks me to think that we humans have done this to each other in so many different ways.
I mean, let's be honest.
So different forms.
I've had so many people that when my children were little and I was frustrated with them would be like, oh, well, just tell them that it's gross when they do that. And it's like, why would I do that? It's like, because you shame them into not doing it again. And it's like, why would I do that? It frustrates me that they're doing it, but they're not doing anything wrong.
Shame's not a...
It actually is a huge control factor with certain parents. They want...
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm also not in the camp of stating that a child and a parent should be friends. There should still be the dynamic of you're the child and I'm the parent. But it's always to a certain extent, you know.
Yeah.
You should never. You got to find the
The
best
balance.
natural balance possible for the thing, for the situation, because no two children are alike. That's like how I never cared for one parent to try to tell another parent what to do, because first of all, those children are completely different from those children. Like what you could do of putting the one kid in the corner for a couple of minutes will be all right for that kid, and for this one, oh hell no. You know what I'm saying? And then the same with, especially when it came to the point of abuse. There was someone that, oh, if you have them sitting in that chair for too long, that's abuse. And I'm like, so for sitting there hanging out peacefully, okay, and at the time that I was doing this with my son, I would sit him down real quick. We watch because the other part was the feeding part. Like I wanted him to get to a point where he wanted the food. Because I was learning that I can't just present the food and he would just eat it. He learned what hunger was, and then when he wanted it, he said, Papi, I wanted it. I was the one feeding him solid food. Well, the other one just wanted a bottle. But it's like the chair that I had him in, so we would just chill and watch the fucking show. Eventually, I'm being told if he's in that chair for too long, that's a form of like abuse. And I'm like, how the fuck is that abuse? But don't get me wrong, everybody looks at things differently. But if the kid's not crying, okay, check, he's not crying. There's nothing here with pain in any way. He's not gonna get a blister there. And then immediately the show's done. He's already done eating. I'm gonna take him out. So where's the abusive part? You know, and it's
Okay,
like that's what I look at. It's like I've heard of people with fucking the belt, la chancleta. The
That's actually an
spoon,
extremist.
when it comes to hitting. And it's like I don't see hitting 100% bad. It's just the type of hitting is bad. Like I've knocked my son, but not once did you see a bruise on his ass. Not once did you see a bruise or anything on him. You would have never known that I cracked him one. That's the level of restraint and balance I have with my hits. Most people, there's times where a kid was almost dead because of somebody beat the shit out of him. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Now that's bad, of course. So it's like nobody knows all these various levels of things that exist when it comes to like that kid only learns this way, that kid only learns that way. They think it's just you could blanket everything with the lesson. It's like, no, you can't. That kid's not going to learn 2 + 2 is 4 same way as you're trying that kid. This kid's, especially when you start involving the mind and how our minds with the ADHD and all that, like that, you got to approach things differently. That's it. You got to learn the individual child. That's why I'm always about the individual case.
Because they're learning how to person and you are learning how to parent at the same time.
Which that's exactly what it is, because there's no real legitimate book you can sit there, oh, that's what I gotta do. No, that's not.
But the reason why some people would consider sitting them down on a chair for extended periods of time abuse, which I don't agree with. However, there are people who do it as a form of not having to watch them, and they will leave them in chairs for so long that it will actually warp their bone structure. It will flatten the back of their heads. It will damage their backs. It will damage their hips.
That's completely understandable. But when you look at what I'm doing next to that explanation there, you could clearly see it's night and day.
No. I completely agree. What you were doing was
and
not
that's
the same
where I'm
thing.
like, whoa, why are you getting so extreme?
Right.
Like they're getting to that. That's extreme. That's understandable. I would agree. Yes. Don't do that.
Especially when they're very little, because their bones are very malleable at that time. It will damage their hips, their spine, their backs, their shoulders, their heads. Like I said
but
earlier,
then you look at a situation like for the way they were explaining it, right? He was only there. It was really only like not even a 15-minute show.
Yeah, no,
it was
I
just
get
a cartoon. We were hanging. He ate his food. I was happy that he got to be entertained, and he ate his food.
Yes.
And then after that, I got him out of the chair. We hung out. The thing is, there's car rides longer than that, and you're telling me that this is abuse, but you'll have him in your fucking car driving God knows where for
3
how
hours,
long,
4 hours.
and you're telling me that's not abuse that you have him in that fucking chair that long. Excuse the fuck out of me. You know, and that's where people don't think, especially when they open their fucking mouth. They're not thinking. They're just letting the words come out.
Right.
It's like, come on now.
It's, oh, look, I got some sort of random superficial knowledge that I'm going to force upon you.
Yeah, this shit comes out of my mouth. I ain't kind of control it.
Yeah, but a lot of times, it's just funny as shit, though.
Yeah. Well, that's the aim, yeah.
No, because, like, I'm like, bro, you got people fucking leaving the kid in the car because they fucking forgot the kid even exists. Like, there was one where the dude went to work and everything. Fucking kid was just in the car and I'm like, what? So you happened to forget that you were supposed to drop off the kid over there at that place so you can go to work over there,
because they don't do
right?
it every day. Dude, it's a thing, okay? It happens, okay?
But like you
It
said,
happens.
you're learning to
To parent as they are learning to
I think
person.
you fucking skipped a big step over here. Holy shit. Or that one lady that fucking drove, I don't know that situation, but it was wild to hear about a lady having her kids in the van and driving it out to the beach to go into the ocean. I'm like, I haven't found out any information of it. All I know is that that's what happened. And I'm like, what was going through that woman's mind? Like, did she crack? Like, because don't get me wrong, some kids push buttons on parents to a point where a parent will crack. And that's why I could understand certain things. Whoa. But, like, to drive them out into the ocean in the van, it's like, wait a minute, where you going? Shit. She's like, I'm done with y'all. Like, holy shit. But it's all situational.
Yes, it is.
It's all situational. And that leads into, like, stuff like I was talking to someone and I think she understood what I was going because I was just trying to portray that I'm not pro or the choice. Both of y'all's need to stay out of her business.
Right.
Because one lady brought it up and I told her, I agree with you, but you're also missing the other side of that coin. So I agreed with the fact of a man shouldn't just be telling a woman what to do with or without the kid, you know, stuff like that, right? With the pregnancy, if you will. And I was like, I agree with you in that. But here's the other part that you're not realizing. That you're disrespecting her by you being involved because that's her body and her choice, right? So what the fuck are you doing here telling her what to do? Because I feel like as an individual, the person trying to tell her what to do and not to do, all those are being disrespectful to her as an individual.
Here's the thing. When it comes to children, if you as an individual are prepared to take full responsibility over the life that is growing inside of you, or not, that's on you, one way or the other, that's fine. However, I cannot completely condone the concept of my body, my choice, when you have the other person or their family asking you, telling you, look, you don't have to do it alone. We are here for you.
Especially under those circumstances.
We're going to be here. Please allow us.
Now, to what you just said, that is one situation. That's what I'm being mindful of. That woman with that situation has those choices. Cool. That needs to stay right there. Right over there. Everybody else can see their way out. That's the point. Like, because then you have the flip side. There's the unfortunate young lady that got raped and stuff like that. But that's still her, between her and her physician. If she decides, you know what, even though this is like, because I've heard interviews and stuff with individuals of those types, and they're like, you had the few that were like, I just didn't want to have this child and then be able to see that person's face because they actually saw the face as an example, and then see that face and be like haunted or whatever. Like that's
Constantly
a
reminded.
constant PTSD, fucking, you know. And I completely understood what she said. Then you had the other ones like, yeah, but it's not the child's fault, so I wanted to have them. And I said, I understand what you're saying, but that's still ultimately what that individual's choice, though.
Okay, here's the thing.
That's why,
When I was in
in
high
the big picture, though, government shouldn't be involved. Period. And none of these governmental, whether it's the high up or local government, none of them should be involved in, let's say it like this, y'all's life. That's how I see that.
When I was in high school, there was this other girl. She was a grade higher.
One grade higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
She got pregnant with her long-term boyfriend, and they were really happy about it. And he was taking full responsibility. And
that sounds nice.
Everybody,
opposed to some of the other people I've met.
Everybody knew about it, and the families were all happy. Her parents were okay with it. His parents were okay with it. Everything seemed to be going okay.
So it sounds like everything was good.
Everything was good.
Okay.
He got into a really nasty car accident, passed away.
Oh, shit.
She chose to abort.
That's rough.
And his parents and her parents, all of them were advising her, telling her, don't get rid of the baby. It's the last piece of him that is left to us.
And that's one of those, the part that I see that it's hard is this, that girl's mind is hurting. It is in shambles. She just lost this person that's just been there in such a good way, the way you're explaining it. And that just...
She still chose to abort. And...
That's very unfortunate.
You know...
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm also hardcore where that's one less life on this planet that this planet has to ruin. Well, not the planet, the people have to ruin.
Here's the thing. Later on, she regretted it. When she healed enough.
That's a regret. God damn it.
When she healed enough, she regretted it. But it's like...
Now, how much time, too? Because that's the other thing. Like, time can help mend the wound, but you'll still have the scar.
Oh, the scar's always going to be there. How much time did
she have when she finally realized what she did to then be like, oh, fuck? Like, how much time did that take?
It was about a year later when his anniversary came up.
Like a whole year?
Yeah. When the anniversary came up, that she was forced to face it again.
That's the next portion of you're fucked in the head because it's just, it fucks with you.
She was forced to face it again, and now she doesn't even have the comfort of being able to have a piece of him. And I don't know.
Yeah. I understand.
There are situations that even though respecting the my body, my choice, and at the time she didn't feel capable of carrying it because it was a constant reminder of him and she didn't want to constantly remember him. Fine, I get it. But it was an extreme situation that's going to haunt you forever.
There were options, at least. That's the thing. That's what makes it unfortunate. Then the burden of the idea of like, oh, you would have liked a piece of him. That's very important. It is very unfortunate. And that's the thing. Every story is not a pretty one, but not all stories are negative either.
Exactly.
So it's like, but it's everything needs to be handled as an individual case. Like right now, if you would have never told me that story, I wouldn't be bummed about it because I would have never known about it.
Right.
And that's the other thing too, that I feel like that's almost like a behind closed doors kind of thing. That it's you and your immediate family and whatnot, and your primary physician or whoever is the one that's like a OBGYN and whatnot. Like those are the only individuals that should be knowing about what's going on.
Well, the thing is, we all knew about it because we all knew when she got pregnant. We all knew when he passed away. We all knew that she was suddenly no longer pregnant.
But we got individuals right now that will be across the entire country and have no idea who the hell that person is, but they feel like they have the right to tell that person what to do and what not to do.
Right.
And that's some of the stuff that like pisses me off. It's like you don't even know who the fuck that is, and then on top of that, you're going to involve local and higher governmental agencies to try to dictate
Force
shit.
your point
don't
of
get-
view on
I
their
look
life.
at it like abortion should be the last line, like the last option. Like after you and your physician has went through all the things and really laid out everything on the table and had discussion. And let's say everything is pretty bad, but you'll die here, but you might not die here, and then stuff like that. Like, I still feel like abortion should still be like an option medically just in case.
Well,
But
see-
mind you, I said medically just in case.
See, I feel like if it is psychologically damaging, if it is a threat to the life of the mother or the child, if it is a pregnancy that will bring more harm long term. My grandmother got pregnant the last time and it gestated in the fallopian tube.
Oh shit!
So
Really?
if the baby had been allowed to stay inside of her, it literally would have ripped her apart.
Right.
So there are situations where it has
Yeah,
to
there's
happen.
always a situation. We just don't know, and life's gonna always throw us a curveball. That's the other
Right.
thing. So we just don't. I mean, hell, and then that's not even considering how certain cultures, and I don't know which one exactly this one's that I'm thinking about, where they said it. After the child's born, they immediately look at the child and go through it, and if they see any deformities, it's like over the cliff you go kind of situation.
Right, which
And
is
I'm like-
also not.
So she went through fucking 9 months of this shit just for you to be like, nah. It's
Right.
like, what? And we're talking about fucking this. Oh my God. Like, we humans are just crazy. But as crazy as I think we humans are, Mother Nature is even worse.
It's like the giver. The giver
Like the
is
idea
such
of
a
like,
messed up
I
story.
saw a fucking scorpion and I finally found out where they give birth, right out their mouth.
Yep.
And oh look, these two have their claws welded together. Hump. She fucking eats them.
Yeah.
Then there was like the shit where like the one goat had the child and for some reason didn't want it. Knocked it with the head and just walked the fuck off. And it's like, and we're talking shit like, don't get me wrong, I think more is because we're humans, we think and this and that. I was like, no, but it's still, I've still seen where like I just seen, what was it? It was like, I don't know what type of monkey it was or whatever, but it was like a monkey just the motherly love to a kitten.
Cat.
This random
yeah.
fucking
A kitty.
kitten.
Yeah.
Bam. That's her child now.
Yes.
And it's like to see that, and you
don't
can't
go
fucking
near it.
tell me
Don't go near
that animals are that much more different than a human when it comes to how we would, you got that one that don't want the kid. That's you and you don't want the kid. That one wants a random kid. That's like you wanting a random kid. I mean,
My
we
children's
humans and the
father,
kid,
he has always had a zoo in his household.
Oh, shit.
When
Literal? Or they
yes,
throwing
literal,
shit too?
just literal. Yeah, yes, there'll be shit on the walls. When I first arrived, there were 2 dogs. One was a gorgeous Labrador named Shiro, and a just absolutely stunning bulldog and named Philly. Now, Philly was a motherly type, and she took care of everybody. Like she was like Nana in Peter Pan.
Oh, okay.
Like
to
she
that
just
level.
took care, to that level all the time. She just loved taking care of everything. Now, at the time there were 3 cats, 2 females, 1 male, and one of the females got pregnant. She gave birth to a whole litter. She took the runt of the litter and kicked it off of the the pillow, and then she left. I mean, literally, she gave birth on this giant pillow covered with a towel, took the runt, kicked it out, and left. And just left all the kittens mewling and crying there to have some peacetime after her labor. And Philly came over, picked up the runt, put it back with its brothers, cleaned them up, and stayed there warming the kittens until the mom came back. And it got to the point where, like, maybe a month into it, the kittens are already getting kind of big, and the mom is still just disappearing on them, and Philly would go and start barking at her until she came back to feed her cats.
Like, get your ass back over here. Where you going? That reminds me of a story. There was a young man that was doing babysitting, and he got offered a job for this one lady to watch the kids. She lied to him about what she had as children.
Okay.
So there was one part that was already the first red flag, but he didn't think twice of it. So she goes and leaves, and he's assuming she's coming back for that evening after she's done. No, she didn't show up at all. And then the next day, and then here goes the third day, he's involving the police. He's like, look,
Right.
I don't know where she's at.
This is child
She
abandonment.
was supposed to be back 2 days ago. What's going on? And then father of the children come around. He's upset with the situation because he already now knows, like, I think he already knows. Then she just happens to pull up. And he's like, how the fuck you dare this and dare you fucking leave him when the fuck, and he's apologizing to the kid and stuff like that. And it's like she just wanted to piece the fuck out.
Right.
But it's like the way she did it was like, that's not how you do things.
What's that shit sound so familiar?
Because it might have been, because it was like a video and the kid was explaining the story though.
Experienced that shit, remember?
Oh, well. There was
Yeah,
you.
That wasn't that long, but I mean, it was.
You're right. That was the unfortunate with you and my ex, which wasn't my ex at the time, but yeah, that did kind of happen.
Wait, she just left you with the kid.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
watching the kid the entire time. Yeah.
That's
Well, I got some
nice.
experiences out of it. I mean,
That was the one.
I know how to change the kid's diaper now.
That was the one time too. I was telling him one time where I think somebody else was with us too, where certain things shed light on me. Where I'm like, it's amazing how certain humans never did a fucking thing of that nature, and the second they're putting into that situation, somehow they know what the fuck to do. Example: me. I've never taken care of a child. Second I had my son with my wife. Like, for example, there was one night, fucking crying. She was, I don't know how many things she said she supposedly tried. He's still crying. I just walked in there and firmly placed him in a wrapped up like a burrito, and he was out. Where did I get that from? I have no fucking clue.
It's a burrito.
It
You
just
can't let
fucking
the
did
meat
it.
fall out.
He just fucking, he was out. And I'm like, I don't know where the fuck that came from. And then there was certain other things I did, and I kept realizing, I'm like, this is some weird shit. I'm fortunate for it, let's say it that way. I'm very fortunate that I was able to do the things that I did, how I did it. But it's just like, it's wild, like, to think that I, at that point, had more maternal instincts than fucking, like, there was times where it got bad though, unfortunately, like, to think about, he knows, I would get home almost 11:30 at night, and I hear the kid crying in his room, and she unfortunately was in her room, and when I walked in there, and we're talking about a crib that has poo lining around this area and this area, the diaper, the contents of it that's supposed to absorb pee could not do so anymore. Like, it was to its actual fullest extent and then some. Okay.
So it was dripping.
And that's what I was coming to almost every night. And it was almost every night because there was like the one occasion where it wasn't that bad. But it was still the same thing. So you're looking at a person coming in at 11:30 at night just to clean thoroughly this child, that room, the crib, and then feed him properly. And I say properly as in because at the time he was able to eat solid foods, but someone didn't have the patience, which that's the other thing I learned was more patience. I learned patience prior to my kid, but it was my kid that got me to an extra level of patience. Like, to have him right next to me while we're watching our cartoon and he didn't want to eat. I remember the first time, because it was the one time I went to try. It was my first attempt. And I had Alfredo with shrimp. I said, I'm gonna go this direction with you right off the bat. And I brought the bowl, and he's like, And he just turned it. I'm like, okay. So we hung out and we were just watching the thing, and eventually he just looks up. Fucking killed that bull. He killed that bull. I was so happy for him.
I remember one incident when I got off of work at 6 o'clock in the morning working in McDonald's. Remember? I came back to the house at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, time to go to sleep. As soon as I laid my head down, all of a sudden I hear on the other side of the wall, and I was like, oh shit. So I went to the room. They were passed the fuck out. It's like, let me not wake them up. Let me go change the kids' diaper real quick, and I'll pass out. So he was making a little bit of noise as I was laying down, but after that he went passed out. Next morning I received a Tonka truck fucking right on my head as I was sleeping. Like, bam! Like,
What the?
Yeah. I was like, well, you welcome, fucker.
Thank you. Dude, that was funny too, in the way you would learn how a child can, like, okay, so this thing you would think they would cry, but they didn't. And then this over here, and you're like, should be no reason you're crying. You learn that shit with their ass. Like that one time, he's telling me about this time, and I think it was the only thing that made noise that he owned at the time, I think. But it was just like, he's sitting there, man, I'm sitting here peacefully, all of a sudden, ding, 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 and then he hits a ding, 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 and then he stops crying because the thing's making noise now. And he's telling me this upset because he's trying to sleep. But I'm fucking dying laughing because I'm like, he's the only reason he's crying is because the thing stopped making noise. But then there's times I remember he cracked his, like, he went to go like that way, and then he just hit his head on something, and I'm like, ooh. And I'm thinking right there is gonna be a crying moment. And it's like,
Nope, nothing.
Fucking brushed it off.
Nothing.
Everything was alright. I'm like, okay then. Now I know. See, you're teaching me. I love my son. He's fucking crazy. That's like, I would not dare to spend money on actual toys, because he would rather play with an empty 2-liter bottle and a roll of the used up, like
yeah,
tape.
the toe.
He wants to roll that. That's it. I remember I used the 2-liter bottle on him once. He was in the we were in the first apartment we went to in Orlando. And the way the hallway is towards the door, I had it set up where that whole hallway was like his. That was his kingdom. He had the toys. And one day, he's like fucking making, he made some noise with that 2-liter bottle. But one day I was looking at him and I noticed something, and something just possessed me to grab his bottle, walk all the way towards the where the dining table was, and sit down. And he got up and walked his first time all the way to me. That entire, because he was at the door.
He just stomped his way.
The entire way. I used his anger to walk for the first time, and I said, "That's my." And I gladly gave him back.
Turn the bottle. You've earned it.
And I'm like, "That's that good boy. That right on." You know, I was happy as shit. I was very proud of him right there. But then I was like, "That's me," because when I'm pissed, determination.
Takes over.
The determination. That's why, like, there was like certain things I think you noticed that I got accomplished. Yeah. Because I was like, he knows if I'm not talking and shit like that, and I'm just doing things, I'm in that zone of determination. I'm gonna get some shit accomplished. And like when I saw it, I was like, it's like I said, something possessed me to take that bottle from him. And that's what it was. It's like I used that anger against him because he was fucking walked the whole length, and I want to say it was decent. I mean, it was almost like the full length of this wall. So that was your first walk. Was that whole thing?
So
right on. Probably.
Basically.
Like, well, this did not just take my bottle. Let me go get my bottle.
Fuck him up once I get here.
Thank you. Lucky you my dad. I'll be thinking about that. Like, how many children out there would just be like straight up, oh shit. How many kids would straight up be like, you're lucky you my mom, or you lucky you my dad. But they ain't saying it. It's in their head. Because if the parent heard it, depending on the parent too.
Yeah.
What you say? Get the chancleta. Start running. Especially it's like some of these stories people give off about the chancleta is just epic. Like to think that somehow she throws it and it makes a curve and it still goes down.
It goes all the way around the corner.
Cracks you in the head. What?
I'm sorry for being ignorant, but it's one of these bitches.
Yeah.
Flip flop.
Now, don't get me wrong. I say that
technically.
I say that in a way like, you know, but there's certain things that you would think is a little, but you see it as a video though. So there was a freaking alligator in the water, and then you see like a lady and a little puppy, and you could kind of tell, I'm thinking that gator's going to want that puppy. And the second he started moving forward towards them, she just takes the chancleta. Yo no sé qué tú haces, pero que... And I'm thinking she's saying something because that son of a bitch turned right back the fuck around and went in the water. Like that gator said, I don't want none of that shit right there. And I'm thinking, that's legitimate power of the chancleta. Live, buddy. Right there. That ain't no joke. Gator said, fuck that. Fuck yeah. Yeah, because immediately today I was thinking about how that one went, and then here's another one where a dude threw a piece of meat into a pond of water that had a whole bunch of them. But there's one that's steadily looking at the guy still. He didn't mind what's going on around him. He wants that guy, it looked like, right? Here comes, he's like, starts going towards the guy. The guy just reaches over, like, all nonchalant, grabs a shovel, and boom! And the thing's like, and it goes back in the water. And I'm thinking, this guy, without any fear, just bonks him with a freaking thing. I'm thinking, oh, he's going to lunge at that guy. No, I didn't even see that he happened to have a shovel on the side there. And I'm like, these interactions with some of these animals are just fantastic. Like the guy in the damn room with all the king cobras and shit. Like the ones fucking, doing this here. He's like, shut the fuck. And he just slaps the son of a bitch. Like, what?
I don't have the balls to do that shit because I remember last time I went for a walk outside. Man, if I see something out there, I'm not fucking with it. And I was walking and I saw a damn bobcat. I was like, I start walking faster. Fuck, I'm going home.
I'm gonna bob my ass back home. Yeah. There was one time I was telling him, man, I wanted to fuck with you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I showed him a picture. It was a small little gator here. Like with his tail, he was only about yay long.
I want one.
I was thinking about, let me just safely tape his mouth and throw him in Roy's bed. Just to see what happens.
I would fucking kill you.
That went through my mind, because my mind,
I would unalive
I could think about the nicest things and the worst things. And I was thinking that might have been one of the options. Roy doesn't want to unalive me. But, but like, he was so cute. He was like this small.
Oh, okay.
It was just a little gator, man. Like the one at MegaCon was bigger than that. And he was cute, though. They put the little, because in the Loki show, they actually had a gator that was a variant of Loki. Mm-hmm. So he had the little helmet with the little horns.
Oh, the guy is
so in the fucking MegaCon, that's what the lady did.
She was
holding him, and they put a little fucking hat on him. And I'm like, that's so silly. But it's cute, but at the same time, you're like, what the hell's going through the mind of that lizard? Because that's what he is. He's a big that's a dinosaur on your shoulder. Let's be honest.
Aren't those like the oldest animals out there?
They're one of the oldest things. Them and like certain tortoises are just fucking flat out old as shit. Yeah. And they've been around on this planet forever. Mm-hmm. Like, there's one tortoise alone. He fucking repopulated, and literally him. He repopulated his species. They said, hey, let's put him on that island over there. All of a sudden, whole bunch of more hymns. And he was like 900 something years old. I'm like, damn, okay.
Still got it.
All right. Power to it. Talk about weird shit. The fucking seahorse is the one that has
more alcohol.
the fucking more alcohol. Remember when the fucking seahorse is the one that gives birth?
Yes, the male is.
That's the male
has
seahorse.
pocket.
The
They
pocket.
have the pocket because it's like kangaroos. The female will give birth, but the babies will swim straight into the male's pocket.
It looked like he was giving birth.
Yeah, because he has the pouch that will.
Because it, like, he was like, and they were coming out.
Out of the mom, go into his pocket, and he takes care of them while they grow.
See, man, they only showed the other part then, because there was no other seahorse but him, and then I'm just seeing these little dudes pop up out of him, and I'm like, huh?
I'll tell you that first time we just found out we had a KFC back home.
Yeah, when was that first one? Like, I mean, was it already there, and then you found out, or you find out they were putting it there?
No, like when I found out there was one there, it's like when I went in like 2018, 19, somewhere around.
That's fucking wild, isn't it? And to think how certain areas, though, I was noticing, I think it was through a discussion about plastics and stuff like that, and disposables, recyclables, and it led into like one of the top best places that handles shit is Mickey D's in France. They take care of business over there. There is no throwing shit away. Each thing is like the Royale with cheese, yo, yeah. You know what they call that?
A quarter pounder.
I swear to God, that was the one movie that had a part in it that just, for some reason, I laughed, okay? It is when they had Marvin in the back. And when what's-his-name turns around and, like, talk to him and accidentally blows his head off. And he goes, oh, no, shut Marvin. Like, the way he fucking delivered that line after that happened, I had to pause the movie and fucking sit here dying laughing until I could breathe again. And I'm like, I don't know why that part fucked me up the way
Which one's your wallet? The one that says bad motherfucker.
Oh, he said that in a meeting with something.
Yo, this shit's so damn good, it's making me emotional.
Oh, hell no. But it was like, oh yeah, they had Samuel Jackson talk about his lightsaber. He's like, see, mine says right here, bad motherfucker. So, hell yeah, get a purple lightsaber. He said it was simple. He just asked, hey man, can I get a purple lightsaber? That way I can, because the actual goal was to be able to have his kids see where he was at amongst all the other lightsabers. And I'm like, there you go. It just happened to be one's purple. Cool, there you go. All right. That shit was cool, man. It was like, yeah, Monster's bad motherfucker right there. To think how he's one of the top, I think he was the top and somebody surpassed him, and then I think he's passed him again or whatever, as like one of the top grossing actors out there, period. And I'm like, well, for as much shit as he's done, hell yeah, I can see that. And he's all bad.
Not gonna lie,
I love
to
Sam.
this
Sam's
day,
great,
I
man.
still want a Big Kahuna burger.
You know what?
I don't even know
Is
if
there
they're real.
anything
I
that
want
would be
them.
like close to that, right?
I'm assuming that the stuff that they have at Kahola might be similar.
Oh, wannabe
However-
Kahuna.
Yeah. Like, it wants to be a Big Kahuna burger.
Damn. I don't even see myself wanting to go into that park just for that. I mean, it's just...
So we still got the Foot Ruckers around here or no?
Well, the only one was the one you and I went to. Is the only one I was aware of, and that's gone. So I would have to look. There's bound to be another one. That one was cool. The experience I had at Fuddruckers was pretty cool. Like, I remember the first time I walked
believe
in
there
there.
is one because Nancy was mentioning a Fuddruckers the other day.
Probably by her, yeah, or something like that. But it was like to walk in there and see the different, and then I saw 1 pound burger. I'm like, oh, you know I gotta try that shit, dog.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong. The way the bun, I didn't care for the way the bun was. I feel it was too much bun. But also the way they cut it, the bottom was like yay thick, and
Where's
the
the
top
beef?
was like yay thick. But the beef was like about that after cooked. Yeah. So it was like that before that cooked. And it fit perfectly on
It's
the
just,
bun.
when you say too much bun, all I think is, where's the beef?
That's the beef! Where's that lady? That was in the 80s right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I keep saying it was Burger King, but was it Burger King for that commercial?
Uh-uh.
That was someone else, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Because I keep thinking it was Burger King. I don't know why.
Although, you know what?
But she was great. When I first saw that, she... Where's the beef? I was like, that's it right there. That's what I'm down with her. Let's go. Where's the beef? She was badass.
See, the thing is...
Oh, that Moon Dude. I seen it again. They were talking about the Moon Dude from Mickey D's.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had a dude doing a cosplay of that in Miami. It was badass. When I saw him, I'm like, yo, that's fucking old school Mickey D's, bro. Like, not a lot of people knew it. And it was cool
Wendy's.
to see someone know it.
Wendy's.
It was Wendy's?
Wendy's.
So, okay. So I was right on thinking it was Wendy's, not...
You said Burger King.
No, what I was saying is I kept, for some reason, saying Burger King. But I was saying it probably is Wendy's.
Wendy's
So I
in
was
1984.
84? So it was the same year I was born, and I thought it was later. Because when I was first aware of the commercial was when I thought it started.
Nope.
So I'm definitely wrong on that one.
Okay, so when I first got here, right after COVID, and things were starting to open up again, and everybody was just like, oh my God, can we actually have normal life?
What is this normal?
I landed, and I actually took an Uber to my friend's house. From that first ride, the next three, the following 2 weeks, everywhere that I would go, I would tell them, oh, I'm coming from New Jersey. And the immediate reaction of every single person that I met was, oh, we just opened a White Castle here. It's the first over here.
Oh my God, that fucker. Yeah.
And I'm just like...
And I got
okay,
lucky
that's cool.
as fuck to go in there when there was barely anybody showing up yet. Because the very next time I went to swing around to just look at it, to see how it was going. And to see the line wrap around and come out and then up the thing. And I'm like, I was able to at least try that one day. Because it was like, I hadn't had one of those since 95, maybe 96. Because Pop and I used to walk in New York to one and just sit down and have a whole bunch of them. That's when we had some like extra cash.
Well, I found it funny because I'm coming from New Jersey, where Harold and Kumar were born. And all anybody
That
could ever
movie
reference
was
is,
something.
and the only thing that anybody ever referenced to me was the stupid White Castle. And I'm just like, that's great. I just said I came
Is
from
that
New
all I
Jersey.
am to you?
I'm set on White Castle. Thank you.
Every time I think about Jersey, I'm just thinking about like
The Jersey
a
Devil?
It's a neighboring state, and then most of the mobster types things were more over there in a way. When it came to certain shit, like if I'm not mistaken, when it came to the Sopranos, they were in Jersey though,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So that's why I equated them more with like I felt like there was more of that there than it was New York. But I'm sure certain areas it had its own element.
Well, that's why New Yorkers are always in a bad mood.
Fuck at it.
The light at the end of the tunnel is New Jersey.
The Hunnin' Tunnel. I told him that's his people tunnel. Because he's from Holland, and those are
my.
good people that made the tunnel. I think that was a lot of Dutch influence out there building
Yeah,
shit.
they owned it before they.
Yeah. The
I
Dutch.
went there once, and that's the last time I'm going.
What was that one guy
Speaking the Deutsch.
in Austin Powers? everybody hates the Dutch. I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell
damn,
Dutch
that's
did to him?
Everybody? Shit.
I was like,
Damn.
everybody hates the Dutch. I'm like, everybody, goddamn.
You must speak for
That
everybody.
fucking movie, those movies are great. I love that shit. I actually had, you know, the guy that helped me, because I showed you the video, the one that threw the Mario shell and I spun in my chair. Like, him and his girl were dressed up as, at MegaCon on Sunday, when I got the one photographer so we could pay respects to that guy that looked like Stanley, like his family and stuff that were raising money. He happened to be there as dressed up as Austin Powers, and she was like one of the ladies with the thing that could shoot out their fucking...
My brother sent this to me this week.
Oh, shit. Oh, behave.
He has a Game Boy emulator in his
That's
phone,
fucking great.
and he found the Austin Powers game.
See, that's another thing. There's games, I'm not even aware that there were games of like a movie or whatever the fuck.
I remember,
Like, you know,
we used
E.T.?
to have, E.T.
They don't know that one.
I knew that one though. Oh, okay. So, what's the name of that? I think he's a YouTuber. It's he plays old video games and has tantrums and breaks his keyboard all the time.
Oh, the angry, what was it, Angry Gamer or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. That guy.
Is that the one that, I think Brad watches?
Or Angry Nintendo Nerd or some shit. That's what it was.
So, I watched a few episodes of his, and I'm over here like, he's just damaging that keyboard for no damn reason. I'm feeling bad for the equipment, you know, like I'm a firm believer you don't fuck with your equipment.
You know what, though? Mm-hmm. You saying that, there was one film, one little video that finally came out reflecting how you're just saying about, like, you're just the equipment. So it was a lady, she was, like, on her cell phone. I guess she was pissed with the conversation. And she went to throw it, and she stops, and the price tag of the phone pops up, and she goes... And then she went to hit something else, and then the price tag of that popped up. So every single thing she wants to break, the price tag... And I'm like, that should happen to so many people.
That right there. That part.
I mean, controllers aren't crazy expensive, but I still wouldn't want to fuck with my controller either.
Don't fuck my controller.
I don't want to do that.
I'm not interested in...
$60.
Exactly.
That's what it is, yeah.
For a PS4
So-
controller. I broke
But
it once.
on this case, like her phone, it said $1,400, and she's like, "Oh no, this TV,
$1,400?
$1,700,"
Oh, yeah.
and she's like, "Oh no, not the TV." So she went over. Dude, the phones are stupid price, right? Stupid money right now, dude. You have no idea how fucking crazy these cocksuckers are with these fucking phone prices
So,
right now.
this kid is playing I watched a few of them, mostly because my cousin was forcing me to, but...
You're gonna watch it.
Yeah, basically. So, no, it was a condition of him watching something else that I wanted.
Oh, so if I watch that, you're gonna watch it.
Right, basically. So,
I made a trade. Okay.
we would trade off. Although
That
mine
sounds
was still
fair.
better. No, we both agreed at the end. Mine was better. But he put on this one episode and he was playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Ooh, which one? Is that the side scroller where you're fucking...
Yeah.
And you could kind of throw the ninja to the camera?
Yeah.
I love that game.
And you can go down the
played
stairs.
the
And you go but,
Fuck
okay,
out of
so
that game. Love that
here's
game.
the thing. I'm watching it and I'm just like, oh shit. Because I played that game. And if you want frustration...
So this is one of those you can relate.
No,
Why?
no. This is one of those that I
Or-
know exactly where he's going to start screaming.
Oh my god.
It's not even relating. It's
Just-
watch.
Here's
He's
the
gonna
level.
do
It's
this.
coming up. No.
So there's this one part because you have to like the spaces between that you had to jump were about that big, and there's one that's that big. So as you can tell, not that much
Yeah.
of a difference, but while these you jump over, this one you actually have to walk across. You have been jumping over them for 2 levels, and when you reach that one, your instinct is to jump because it's not that much wider, narrower. But every time you jump, you fall down the hole, like smack through the middle of the hole because the ceiling hits you and you go down.
Dumb shit.
So you're supposed to just walk.
You're supposed to just walk straight through.
Because if you jump, the ceiling hits you.
hits you and knocks you down straight down the middle. And I think he showed the clip maybe 20 times. He did this, and you could see his face was red. He had already broken two keyboards. He was freaking out. He's like, how the hell am I supposed... Like, he had gone through the tantrum so hard that he was already on the other side to the point where he just can't even tantrum anymore. He's like, how do I get past it? And I'm like, you just walk past. I'm over here like, just walk. Just walk.
Maybe I'm not aware of that.
He cuts it off. The next thing you know, it's him. You just walk past it. You just walk past it. You see him walking sideways.
Look at this. Look at this. Probably one of those so pissed at him. Look at this. I was made such a fool. God damn it. You fucking believe this shit?
It was annoying.
That's fucking great. Some games can just fuck some people up so bad.
That was like the simplest solution in fucking games.
I think I can't even think back to a situation with a game that got me ever pissed. Like, because it's one of those, I just find it, oh, you motherfucker. Like, oh, challenge, like, oh, challenge accepted.
No.
I've never gotten pissed to even fathom the idea that I want to throw a controller. Like, it just never crossed my mind.
I was playing Dark Souls, like, recently.
No, fuck that.
And it pissed me off to the point to where I just started, like, staring at the screen and not even saying. I'm just sitting there, like...
It's like one of those contemplating life.
Yeah, like... Why am I even fucking playing this shit?
It's like, why am I putting myself through this shit?
Questioning all your life choices. When I was 5, why did I eat that ice cream?
It's like, life is already hard enough. Why am I fucking with this shit?
Why did I go into that fence with the bike, bro?
Yo.
I remember that shit.
Fuck did I go wrong?
Fucking game. It's just, I'm glad, I guess, in a way. I'm glad that I don't have a want to play that game. Never did.
I mean, it's fun when it's fun.
That's like even with Skyrim, like I just didn't have a want, but since we were in a hotel room for as long as we were, and all the computers and everything was in the storage unit, all we had was the PlayStation. Yeah. And so on my time off, they were out and about or sleeping, and I just fuck it, I'll play it. And then I played the fuck out of Skyrim. I did everything. The only two things I didn't do was two things. And it was from the expansion shit, like the extra shit they added, where if you were a werewolf, you had the Tree of Talents. If you were a vampire, you had a Tree of Talents. I didn't fuck with either one of those. I just did everything else. I owned every house. I modeled every house. Like I put gear specifically into that one, put gear specifically to this one. The one in Whiterun was my house. And I mean to the point where I collected so many skulls. And you know, when you walk into Whiterun, and you have that, walk into the house in Whiterun, you have that little fire right there in the front. Okay, I threw a skull once in there, and it fucking fell down and disappeared. And I'm like, oh, so this has some depth. So I collected a fuck ton of skulls and kept going until I actually saw them. Okay, then I got them to a certain point, then I grabbed a fucking troll skull and put it right on top. As like that. That's the one on top.
Please tell me that the eyes were still flaming.
No, I don't think so. No, yeah, it wouldn't do it that way. That sucked. Yeah, now you say that would look cool as shit. And then I think somewhere else in the house I had the dragon skull. And then the one table, I took off all the cheese and shit and just threw weapons on it. Like there was certain points, like I literally did the drop the weapon, did the pickup, you know how you see it floating? That was the funniest shit there. And then I would just like drop it on a certain part of the table. I was like, all right, I look at it. Shit, we were just talking about, like, I think Folkreath is what I want to say. The innkeeper over there. He would have the most amount of gold in his inventory. So I would take my character and just load him up where I couldn't barely move. And just use that one. Foos! like the yellow just to be able to move or whatever. And I get there and I sell everything until he's out of gold. Do the wait for like 3 days, I think it was, or whatever. Skip 3 days where now he's got gold again. And I sell another batch. I sold so much shit to this fucking guy. I had more gold than I think you should really just have in that game. Like, I wasn't to the max where, you know how certain things do max out, 999 or whatever. I wasn't that yet. But just the number I had there, I'm like, why can't I have that in real life?
Well, that's the thing with the game. Is like, at one point, you get so much damn money, you just spend money on shit and don't even spend money.
Yeah. And plus, it's not like how in WoW, everything you're doing fucks with your gear and you got to repair. There is no repairing in Skyrim. So you don't have that constant, well, I am spending money somewhere.
I mean, it was a thing in Oblivion.
Oh, Morrowind actually had like if you were in fights and you can damage gear or whatever. See that?
That was
I'm
me
glad
in
it wasn't
Fable
there.
3. I think I ran through that game like 6 times. I got every single different ending that you could possibly get, and through every single one, I decorated as much as I possibly could, including the one where I had no citizens anywhere.
Damn, no citizens. Good. This is my place.
Yes, it was a whole world just of my.
That was
creation.
one of the things that I was being hopeful more and more people did talk about it and try to see if it could happen. Where
Although that one was
having-
kind of hard because if you end up with that ending before you buy everything you need, you can't buy anything because there's nobody to sell to you.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. It was
So-
a way of doing it.
Right.
a
I
way
had
of-
to have everything beforehand and then kill everybody off.
And fuck your chicken. And WoW, they were talking about trying to do player housing. And I was like, I really hope they get to finally do it. I really want to have a home in WoW. Because my character's home, like, I got all this shit because that's how fucking stupid I am with that shit. Like, when you're looking at the map of Mulgore, okay? And that one big entrance to get out of Mulgore is down here, right? But then there's how everything's like a wall between each zone. So when you're going across this wall, you normally will fly over it on the flight path to Orgrimmar from Thunder Bluff. But there's one little hut that's on the top of the wall with a nice tree, nice little fire. That's my character's house. That's where I live. That's where I go. Opposed to everywhere else killing shit. I always have like a little backstory to everything. Oh, I just know, and I'm tempted to restart the game just for that.
Really?
So you remember the 2 totems I just acquired on my back from the storyline stuff with Bane Bloodhoof? Mm-hmm. They just added them totems in 2 other color schemes. One with more of a red and one with more of a blue. They look great. And I'm like, I really want to go get them.
See, the thing is, I can't play that game.
I want to go get them, dude.
I can't play that game.
Man, I was looking at a guy selling for a computer at $300. Mm-hmm. That would be just fine to play WoW.
Oh,
I swear to God. I was like, I really wish I just had $300 to spare, and I'll fucking go get it for you right now. Because we could hook up the TV, and then that's it.
no, I'm not playing that game.
He's like, I'm not playing.
I'm not playing it.
What's wrong with WoW?
You
I
will.
mean, it's not WoW is the issue, it's the people playing it.
Okay, yeah, no.
That's
I can
why
agree
it'll
with
just
that.
be
I
me
can-
and you.
no, no.
You know how much
Yeah,
it's just been me?
Yeah, but the last thing I want to do is get on the game and some little asshole will be like, you fucking stuff. Like, I don't want to deal with that shit.
Yeah, or throwing
then you go
spells on
block.
you and forcing you to stay still until they attack you. It's like, nah.
Block,
Yeah, that's another good reason. Yeah.
ignore, block.
Can't
Actually,
walk
they
3
do
steps
have a-
because they keep challenging you to duels.
Yeah.
Actually, you can have that activate, deactivate. Anybody can do that. You can deactivate for someone to
Fine, I got no
trade.
more excuses. Fuck.
No, I'm just telling you what they added
Oh, okay.
and what they got.
Oh, so we added it now?
Well, honestly, I think with block trade, block duel, and other things, I think they already were there.
Yeah.
It's just turning it on. Like one of the new stuff, like obviously they had like a thing you have to read, and then you click that you accept it. Is the whole like you shouldn't harass someone and stuff like that. So they They got that in there. So somebody spams you, they're screwed because you can report them and they could get kicked. But it's actually at 50% now for Dragonflight. It's like, and it even says on the top, best time to come back to WoW. And I'm like, you damn.
Isn't that like every single week ever?
This time they're actually right.
Okay.
For the most part, Dragonflight has been very successful. A lot of people liked it. There's some that are like meh because they're more, and I understand exactly where they come from. They're more of like they like Warcraft, not just pretty dragons fucking hanging out. Shit.
When did I stop playing after Burning Crusade? I think.
Well, you had a break, and then you came back, and then you got the next break. I think the last break you and I was Mr. Pandaria, I think.
Yeah, but I was supposed to fuck with Burning Crusade. No, wait, bro. Which one was it?
No, you did Burning Crusade.
Legion, was it?
No, that one you did. Yeah, that one.
I don't know why I said Burning Crusade.
Right. Which to me, structurally, how things went, I did enjoy the fuck out of Legion. I really did. I would say the way things, if I had to categorize it in like least to, I would say like, I would go Dragonflight, Legion, Warlords, Pandaria, and that's only because I didn't get to really spend much time in Pandaria, to be honest, because that was when we were in the hotel room. Because when we moved in here and then we finally got internet, and I wanted TV. Look at how this went. Let me give you that one. So we move in here, and I wanted to get like an antenna thing. So I got like this. It's like this flat thing, and you hook it up so you can get local channels. And I hook it up, and it's only like shitty Spanish channels, not even good ones. And I'm like,
No
that's
Telemundo.
it. It was like 5 of them, and the other ones are fuck that. I go to take it back, lost the fucking receipt, and I was so pissed. I'm like, where the fuck is the receipt? And of course, they will take it back, but they have to give you like store credit or whatever the fuck. So, guess what was the exact same price as this fucking antenna?
The box to play, that was the channels.
The Mr. Pandaria fucking expansion pack of World of Warcraft. The exact same price. So it was like, all I had to do was a swap. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll take it. I was literally like, fuck it, as in like, I wasn't going to play it even I grabbed it. No. After I got it, loaded that bitch up. And it was already at the tail end of its run almost, because it was around the time where this one area already kind of got fucked up because of the guy dropped the heart in there. And it's the Garrosh. Yeah, it was Garrosh fighting the one dude. And then, here's this big raid now. We're going to Orgrimmar as a raid. And like, that's the time frame of when I'm starting Pandaria, which is the last of it. So I didn't get to really experience, like I did the quest throughout all that, and I got the gist of what's going on, how the Shaw happened, and who did what where, and like I got all that. But then to really fucking enjoy like I'm normally trying to get all the reps to highest whatever. The one I didn't even get to touch really was the hill that had the farm. I didn't get to really do the farm. Like fucking Fatty's always talking about how he's still making money off the farm to this day when he was doing it. I'm like, what? How the fuck are you still making money off of that? So he had his ways. I know Necro's still going to Warlords to get, I think it was Sumptuous Fur, and then he does shit with that too. So they're still making money off of the old school shit too. But yeah, I'm like, dude, to think that I got a fucking antenna that went downhill, and the next thing is that the expansion pack is the same price, huh?
It was
meant. It was. I think it really was. I want to say that, but because I want to say it was the $39.99 bullshit. That's what it was. It was $39.99 for the expansion pack. that antenna was $39.99. And I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm getting the expansion then. Fuck it. I don't give a damn. And played the hell out of that monk. I played the fuck out of that monk. Which at that time, they were bullshit. Like now, I couldn't play the monk now like I did then. I wouldn't survive.
Will my account even still be there?
Yeah, your
Yeah.
account will be there.
It's still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's like Jared's is there. It's the only thing is like, for example, yours are probably not. Definitely Jared's would. But like if you go to look up the character on Wildhead, or not Wildhead, on just regular Wild, it'll do the 404. Like it can't find it because that's how long the character
I
was
mean, I'll
off.
consider it one day. I'm gonna fuck with it again.
I wouldn't mind fucking just getting the opportunity to just do like whatever the next expansion may be or something like that. I would love to get us in a position where we can just fucking chill and have it more of like a once a week or once every 2 weeks. Not because like right now I am sad that I'm not on it because I would have been undid the entire heritage armor set for the fucking undead because they did that for Horde side is undead, for the Alliance side is the elves. Because they already did the human and the orcs, which I made the orc video, which that's what my best voice acting was at so far. But I would love to do the undead. Boils. I have boils. You know, I want to do some
think you just like
undead
saying
voice
boils.
shit. Boils. And maggot holes. Ooh, I smell like fresh garbage. Those fucking guys. I love undead. They're funny. But that's where I know, like, I'll be able to do that voice acting a little bit easier on all those quests. I want to read those quests and do that storyline. Nah. That field's got so many fucking people. I just want to stick to my lane right now. This is my lane right here. I'm treating it like I am, and I'm just getting better with every video. Fuck it. That's it. No, but that's like when I was watching
you know that
the
you,
X-Men.
as a Universal employee, would have an easier time getting a SAG card, right?
Probably.
No, really, because you work for NBC Universal Comcast,
That'd be some shit.
and the amount of time that you've been with them, even though it isn't entertainment, it's still considered customer service, which is considered entertainment, which is linked to NBC. So you can shortcut into a SAG card to get into better jobs.
Do commercials. Probably still
You
start off
could.
where I should, but
I'm just saying.
I wonder what kind of, because it's, they have their own streaming, right? The Peacock has, I think is what it's called, Peacock, the streaming service for NBC Universal. I think it's called Peacock, right? Somebody was saying we can get that for free, but
I
don't
like
know
Peacock.
how.
Wait, we can get it for free? Why am I paying for
I
it?
don't know. They were saying something about with the email, but no, I have found nothing, and nobody has been able to explain nothing.
Well, I pay
I'm
for
like,
it.
how dare
so...
you freaking tease me with getting it
Yo,
for free?
for real.
I would have been done probably seen something, but whatever. Boils. No.
And barnacles.
Plus, that would have been a nice video right now to do the undead, because I think someone already kind of did the night elves. But that's the one thing I still enjoy about the idea of what I want to do is nobody else is doing it the way I'm doing it. There are other people that'll do like a kind of a playthrough, but they're not like only two guys I kind of know that they'll somewhat read the quest. And I think it's Akalon and oh fuck, what's the other guy's name? Fuck, I'm drawing a blank now. Nevelin? Yeah, I think it was Nevelin is how you say his name. But they'll read it in like their regular voice, like they're just reading it. But me, I'm trying to like I'll click on the NPC and get like an idea of what he sounds like, and then just read that out as if they're saying it to me through that quest. I'd still blow it up so somebody else could read along and shit. But my idea is I'd like to have the video set up that if you were playing it in the car, you could hear it like as if it was an audiobook if you were driving to work. So if you were a person that didn't want to play WoW, but you still want to know what's up, that's what I would like to do. So that way, if you wanted to learn about, well, okay, how did these orcs try to do their stuff and whatever for their clans and everything? Because it ended nice. You know, all the clans are together. You got literally everybody there. You got all the ancestors popping up and this and that, and it was nice. You know, it was really cool. And I wanted to deliver those stories. The one that was hard, of course, was with Bane, because Bane is so deep. Like, his voice is ridiculously deep. So I would try to do it a certain tone and then tweak it down in the program just to kind of. But the problem with that one, too, that I came across, that one had less actual voice acting than all the other stuff. So the one video was like 40% they had their own voice actors, and then there was like 60% of stuff I had to read. In Bane stuff, it was like maybe 10% of them talking, and 90% of it I had to read. Because it was like the interactions between certain characters. The bubbles are popping up. And I'm like, ain't no way they're fucking saying it that quick for that bubble to pop up and then disappear. What the fuck? So I had to try another tactic on it, which was clip the bubble by itself. And then place it on the screen, blow it up, only have it up as long as I read it, and then still have the regular video fucking going off. So people can still see it, still hear it, and then you're still seeing things move. So that's what I try to do. Who the hell's picking me now? Picking. I'm very fortunate to have that one guy want more cars. I got lucky, yo. That one kid, I mean, he only came by, so he was interested in my Hellboy action figures. And then he said, do you have other stuff? I was like, I got other stuff. You're more than welcome to look at it when you get here. So he said he pulled out 200, so he had 200 in his pocket. He starts yanking. We put everything on his table. He's like, are you sure you want to part with this? I'm like, look, just fucking grab what you're interested in. Stop it. So eventually everything ended up being like I should have just gave him the fucking Black Adam and Talon over there. But he's like, I'll give you this 200 physically and sell you 200. $400 worth of stuff. And I was very fortunate. He's a cool kid. I can't wait until he has everything up. I told him just spot me a picture because I added him as a friend on Facebook anyways. And then now I got this gentleman here. He bought some of the you gonna be that guy? That's the one else now. But yeah, now the gentleman, like after he bought a few of these model cars that are about yay big in the box, then he asked me, do you have anything else? I was like, well, I got the 1/18th scale. I got like 3 of those. I got a 124. And he's like, let me see them. So now he's interested in all of them. So I'm giving up all of them. And then I asked him, by any chance anybody would want a 164? And the 164 scale are like the muscle machine ones where they got like really big wheel in the back, fucking blower coming out of the hood, like they're a little more crazy or whatever. And he said, you know what, I think I got a guy. So I'll probably be able to give those up for a decent price. I had so far only one person ask me about, no, I had 2 people ask me about that dresser. One guy was trying to say he wanted to send me money and then have his sister pick up that TV and stand combo, but I said, yeah, that sounds cool. And then that was it. I said, yeah, that sounds cool a long time ago. And then the one lady, she was supposed to contact me today about picking that up tomorrow, that table there. Which I've been using it as like I put things there and take a picture. I know eventually I got to find out what else I want to get rid of. Because the more I keep thinking about it, the more I'm like, I don't know if I really want to stay here. Because I like I was saying before, we can't even just save money. Even if we could, how fucking broke we are. But if we
I know
did,
for a fact I
like,
can't stay where I am. The commute is killing me.
Yeah, and I showed him. I was like, look how close. Because hopefully I would like to get him back in work. Because he used to work with us. But then some shit happened, and then other shit happened, and then, you know.
Like I was supposed to work at Disney, I think, right?
Well, there was some other stuff too, but
Was that high eights?
we were in a high force. Yeah, there was you and like fucking 8. I think it was 9 other people didn't have hours for like
I was out for like 6, 7 months or something.
5 months straight. I think it was
Yeah, something.
5 months straight of no hours for them, and cut on mine. And then eventually, somebody was in his ear, and I told him, "Look, don't worry about it. You'll be all right," because he's under my roof, and he still let somebody. I was mad at them more than
The
you,
thing is, the
but
problem that I had was I wasn't making any money. So,
yeah, I know. But I was like, "I got you. You all right?" But what it came down to is his very first scheduled week that he was given by Disney. Universal dropped him with 5 days, and everybody else too.
Oh,
And here's the thing: from that week on forward, 5 days period for the longest. Like what you and I just experienced not that long ago was the first actual dive.
and I ended up
Like especially before, because
well,
COVID.
it was a
was
long ass dive. Thank you.
It was, but comparable to him, shit.
I had my hours cut since November.
Well, you had some, right?
I don't know.
He had nothing, and 9 other people. I want to say only 9, but it
Well,
might have
I'm
been
still
more.
gonna be petty about it because there were people that got 40 across the board.
Is that like with certain ones the way they were trying to say it, and this is like I said, trying to say it. Like these are full timers, so they gotta get their 40 first.
I am a full timer.
And then whatever's left, we give it to everybody else. And I'm
I
like,
am a full timer.
you sure about that? You sure about that?
I am a full timer.
Oh, I finally hit 16
They were
points.
actually pissed off at me because, well, are you sure you want to go down to 3 days? You know that eliminates your full time. And it's like, what full time?
I know with me, I managed to work something out with them that way.
And don't even start with
It
me.
helped
You
me.
just hit your 16 points. Congratulations. Here's the thing. I just dropped down to
Luckily.
9. I haven't been down under 12 since I started in this place and I got up there.
But at least
I just dropped to 9.
is still a really good spot comparable to other people.
Well, I dropped
Did
to
what's her
9
name
because
still
they were
go? Did she
teaching
finally
me
go up?
lessons.
Oh God, I don't know about all that. Yeah, there's some stuff that
And I'm over here like, well, I have points. Do whatever the hell you want.
there was some stuff that I'm like, I don't want to know about it. Whatever
Okay,
y'all
bye.
doing.
I ain't gonna lie.
Cause that's still between y'all. So fucking yeah.
That little break was nice though.
It was nice, yeah.
Finally be away from those motherfuckers, man.
Because in this case, what would be nice is because we're right there next to it, and it'll, plus the way the pay went up and everything. Now, don't get me wrong. I think you will still have to go towards the other regular property and not the new one though, because they'll probably have you with the distribution team.
That's fine. I'll take whatever.
But that's probably what they would want. Yeah. Because so far things are still up in the air. Don't get me wrong. Like nothing's set in stone, and I'm like, I'm not gonna believe it until I see it, because that's how it is anyway. So we shall see. But at least being in that area too, that close to the Florida Mall and shit, like I might actually want to go to the mall for once, which I used to do that. Especially with a certain someone, and then later she fucking didn't want to do that anymore. Because we used to go to the mall. That's when I was at Florida Mall is where I fucked around with those people that have Rosetta Stone. Remember that? Yeah. And I was like, Ik ben naam Anthony, and then the girl drank I forgot how to fucking say that now. Not that I lost that one, but
See, now I'm thinking like, now that I'm back in Florida, I want to go to the fucking beach.
Where? Oh, beach. Yeah. Okay.
since I went.
Oh, I gotta get a hold of Ray to see if I can go out there for this next year's Tampa Bay Comic Con, because it's on my birthday. My birthday, and maybe if everything goes right, you can come along and then we can just all hang out. From where he's at, though, he's not that super far away from beach time too, so you could just fucking hang out with that shit too.
I mean, I wouldn't mind checking out a comic.
Oh, fuck.
Walk around.
I really would like to at least have you in a position where you had some of that gear to at least somewhat be like a Viking, and at least experience one of the days of MegaCon with me.
Well, first, I'll probably go as an unemployed motherfucker.
Well, hey, dog, what are you doing? Man, I'm Mr. Unemployed. Unemployed man. No, but I would really want you to at least experience one of those days with me.
Ooh, you want to be the ventilator?
Oh, remember that there? The ventilator? We made a character ventilator. Has vents and shit. You get to vent to it, right? Is that what it was, right?
He is the superhero psychologist.
So, you know, when someone got problems, and then another thing, when that motherfucker did it, you know how they vent? So you'll be the one absorbing.
Yeah. So you get like a giant fan and there's like
that motherfucker without the fucking dressing up that way. I already like that person.
Yeah.
Like, fucking Brad
Exactly.
fucking 5 minutes.
So all you need is like a mask
and
that looks like a vent.
helmet with a vent
Okay.
right in front of it.
Fucking idea. I should do that.
It's a ventilator.
Who are you? The ventilator. Dude, I think, didn't you already make a sketch?
I did. We made a sketch and
That's what I gotta look at that again.
we laid out some of the catchphrases and
The catchphrases already? So what are those catchphrases?
That shit was great. We were just popping off that day. But the thing is, we were talking to fucking, what was it, Christian?
Special K.
And I was like, he was like, kind of into it. But I was like, this can be applied to anyone.
Right.
This is a great character. We need to make it happen. The ventilator. And then I told her, this mask ain't gonna go with this shit. And you can just be there. I actually can't remember the shit you wrote down. Fuck. That we need to revisit that. We need to revisit that. Maybe, just maybe. We can fucking go ahead. I got that mask thing. We can use that. Remember that thing I was showing you? Like we use that as a foundation to add something to it. Like add like a vent to it. That way you have that piece going. And then we gotta figure out like something here.